Podcast. I'm your host, Sean Mott. Today, for episode 10, we have Ryan Tuck O'Leary from Fit for a King and Off-Road Minivan. This is another edition of Talking Metalcore. We talk about the bands that got us into metalcore, some of our favorite newer metalcore bands, and then we go through his entire career of from when he started playing in bands to how he got into Fit for a King. Tuck is an hilarious dude. This is a super fun conversation. Before we get into that, there's a few news topics. Westworld has been renewed for a fourth season. There is going to be a new female-led Star Wars Disney Plus series that will be helmed by Russian Doll co-creator Leslie Headland. It's going to take place in a different corner of the Star Wars universe. Russian Dolls was a crazy, wacky show. If you haven't watched it, it's on Netflix. And that's it for the news. Let's get into this conversation with Tuck O'Leary. What's up, Tuck? How you doing, man?
I'm doing pretty swell today. How are you, Sean?
I'm doing great. It's almost 50 degrees here in upstate New York, so I'll take that. It was snowing about 2 days ago.
That sounds terrible. But yeah, it's pretty warm in the city today as well. It's quite nice. I'm a fan. I feel like I need to put deodorant on, and I didn't. But that's been a problem recently in general for me. But you know, I'll get to it at some point. But it's what, 2:00? Haven't showered. Who cares? Like that's what you do during quarantine,
Right? I've been doing a pretty
Yeah.
good job of showering and sort of getting ready, but it's still weird. You just get ready and then I sit at my computer.
Yeah. I shower at night now instead of the morning. And but we did the cool like face mask routine last night where we did like that blast like venom looking face mask and you peel that shit off. And then we did like the nose strip one and
Yeah.
peel that off. And it was pretty cool. I saw all the stuff I pulled out of my face and that was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
So I think if I keep with that, I'm gonna come out of this shit looking nice. I bought a pull-up bar, so I'm gonna get my back looking real sick for summertime. I'm gonna come out, everyone's gonna be like, "You a swimmer?" No, absolutely not. Just been doing jailhouse workout. Yeah. Yeah,
Coming out looking like a real psycho. That's good. I like that.
dude, that's the goal, my friend. Absolutely.
Like,
Always.
is he a professional wrestler? No. He just plays bass.
In my dreams, I'd get too broken, man. I don't think I'd last because those guys really beat the shit out of each other.
Oh,
And
yeah.
my knees and my ankles already hurt. So I don't think I'd do so well. Maybe when I was younger, like if you would have put me on steroids at 21, like fuck yeah, I would have been awesome. But 31,
Not so
I don't
much.
think so. And I don't think so. Yeah, not as good. But
So obviously the coronavirus has affected everyone in some way, shape, or form. And I think it affected you pretty big. You guys were only a couple days into that tour, right?
yeah, it took away the greatest year of my life. We were set up to do to finish out the Dark Skies cycle. We were doing a US tour into a Japanese tour into UK, Europe, and then we were going to follow up and go to Australia. And we are doing we pushed some of it back.
Right.
We pushed the US dates to June, July, which I don't think those will happen. And we pushed the European stuff to next, till the fall. So I think that'll still have a chance of happening, but it's tough, man. It's pretty soul crushing. Like whether you like financially it sucks, but more importantly, just in terms of getting to a place where, for Fit for a King, we were like, wow, we're headlining. We have Chelsea Grin, Crystal Lake, and Alpha Wolf on this tour. People are coming out.
Yeah.
Everyone's excited the whole show through. Like, dude, the first show, watching Alpha Wolf's first set in the United States of America. What a wild honor. And we got to watch that with Crystal Lake 2 years ago with the ABR tour.
Yep.
And it just sucks, man. It's we put a lot of thought and time into making this the greatest Fit for a King tour that you could like possibly go to at the time. Yeah. And it's definitely taking that away. And then, on a personal level, like Rio and I are tight, and now I don't get to spend time with my friend. Like,
Right.
that
Yeah.
sucks. Like, not to say that I'm not like friends with everyone in those bands, but it's one of those things like me, him, Andrew, who's our driver, and like Jared and Jim, who runs our lights. Like, we were going to the gym every day. We're doing lunch, like it's like girl time. It's
Yeah.
cool. And it's just a bummer when you look forward to something like that and then it gets taken away. But at least we still will get to come back and tour. And Kirby said it best in our group chat where he was just like, man, when we get to come back and play just one show, we're going to appreciate it like nothing else.
Yeah.
And, I'm still a 30-year-old scene dude, professional mosh guy. So
Yeah.
I'm like, I can't complain. Like, it sucks. Hopefully I'll get unemployment to work out and then like I'll be cool. Like, I don't really
Right.
care then. At least in terms of finances.
Yeah, exactly.
But we're pissed, but also, feeling blessed. It is what it is, man. The Corona thing has completely screwed us, but just gives you time to really realize what you had,
For
or
sure.
have. I'm not saying that we lost it, but
Yeah, yeah.
um,
It's a very
we're.
uncertain picture to when we're gonna get it back.
And I mean, one thing that's cool is when we do come back, we'll be coming back on a new record,
Yeah.
playing new songs, which will be great. But the last show we played, which I think it was show 5 of the headliner, 950 people, sold out in Joliet, Illinois.
Insane.
Our biggest headliner to date, and that's in Joliet, Illinois. You didn't even let me get to Texas, you asshole! Wow, like that's crazy. It makes me furious, because this was our time to prove what we are
Yeah.
capable
Seriously, yeah.
of. Because a lot of people don't know Fit for a King like that. So there's a lot. I could go on forever. I could bash my head against my wall right now to resemble how I truly feel. But all in all, at least I will have a job.
For
That's cool.
sure.
We got a lot of touring that's lined up, that's for sure.
Yeah.
My schedule is crazy next year.
I'm sure.
So yeah, so we're still trying to make everything happen. And luckily I still get to tour with friends a lot. The Alpha Wolf guys are jumping on our European run now instead,
Nice.
which was super cool. And they're also still on the US dates, but let's be realistic. June, July is not going to happen.
Yeah.
Um, so we're just taking it one step at a time.
Yeah, I was gonna say when the tour got announced and the reaction to it was so positive, I was like, hell yeah, good for those guys. They've been at it for forever and they've always been the sixth support band. But to see bands like that become powerhouse headliners that will give the opportunity to make the next round of headliners in the
Yeah,
future, bring out young bands. Like you said, you brought Alpha Wolf on the we're trying to bring Alpha Wolf out on their first US tour, and Crystal Lake's done a few now, but still,
yeah,
I mean, they're still pretty new to the US. And
yeah. It's their third.
yeah,
Yeah, it's pretty crazy, man. I mean, I think that's why it's a bummer, where it's very rarely do you get the chance to take a band that has hype like that on their
yeah,
first US tour. Now,
for
you can
sure.
take bands on their first US tour, but it's not every time that you take a band on their first US tour that they're worth those kind of tickets. And
Sure.
Alpha Wolf is a band that people really wanted to see and
Oh
sang
yeah.
along to and moshed to and had a great time. And then you follow that up with watching a Crystal Lake set right after, who's on their third US tour and just crushing the room. I mean, by the time they're done, you're like, oh, all right, show's over. I don't need to see anything else. Cool. Should we all pack up? Because, by the time they're done, like there was one night, Rio crowd surfed all from the stage across an entire sea of people, got to the back, and above the soundboard, like where the people ended, was like this sound paneling on the wall. And he climbed up that, and these two guys put their arm down and lock arms with him and pull him up to the second balcony. He hangs out there for a second, chills, then they lower him back down and he crowd surfs back. That's
Insane.
the second band of the night. Like, how do you do better than that? You don't do better than that. It's not even a contest.
That's crazy.
So It's crazy, man. Shit was mind blowing to watch. And then just as like as a businessman, you're like, man, we can't get a better lineup than this.
Right.
Like this is fucking sick. So it's an interesting thing, but hopefully it works out when we are able to come back.
Right.
But that's to continue on how it's affected the business. It's definitely affected the finances in a way where now instead of replacing Crystal Lake, I think it's just the three of us coming out because nobody even knows if in theory we were to go out in June, July. No one knows who's going to come out, who has money, who can afford
Right.
concerts, all that kind of thing. So it's a pickle. It's affected everyone, including the viewer. But luckily, fans have been so supportive. I mean, they've
Yeah.
bought so much merch. They've, tuned into every live stream that they can. People have been really cool. So it's not much you can ask for other than that.
Yeah, that for sure. That's definitely best case scenario with the circumstances that we have.
Oh yeah.
So I think we
But
met. Well, it was this year at iManor. We were kind of internet
yeah,
friends beforehand, just through the mutual
I
friend thing
flirted with
that always
you a bit.
happens.
Yeah. Say a little something, something here and there. But
Yeah.
yeah, we were internet buds. I think it was started possibly around the time that Imran, you were working at
Yes.
Artery. Imran started booking my side project, so I kind of tuned into all you players over there.
Yep.
And then you started booking a few bands that I was, friends with or fans of, like Downswing, Boundaries, like a
Yep.
couple those I believe. And then yeah, I think that's kind of how just I came to know of you. But yeah, you're just a hustler, man. You're all over the damn place. It's sick to watch because you're
Try.
doing the design work, you're doing your own podcast now, you're booking bands, you've really been all over the place. So it's pretty sick.
Thank you. I
Um,
appreciate that.
I just like I like knowing anybody that is, working hard towards this whole music thing. It's
Same
fun.
here. It's been a part of my life
Yeah.
since I can remember, pretty much. So I can't really
Yeah.
imagine life without being involved in some way anymore.
Yeah, dude. You're nailed to the X, but you're also nailed to the core, bro.
Definitely nailed to the core.
Yeah.
Are you
Yeah.
into anything nerd related at all? Or are you just more of a music guy?
Not necessarily now. But growing up, I played Yu-Gi-Oh like all through high school. Like I would play like in study hall or at lunch with friends. Like
You'd
I didn't
actually
give a
play?
fuck. Yeah, like
That's
with
sick.
cards, like at tables and the fucking, in the cafeteria and whatever. Um, my neighbor and myself, we played hard. It started with playing. We were okay. All right. Third grade, my Dragon Ball Z was playing in the morning, and now third grade for me
Yes.
is a long time ago. Dragon Ball Z was only playing in the morning at like 6 a.m. My dad is king nerd. He would watch it with me in the morning and got me hip to it. And then eventually it got put on Toonami and was on at night
Yep.
through majority of like my high school years and stuff. Um, but me and my neighbors, I mean, my neighbor was Ryan. His name is also Ryan, was so into it where he actually would follow it hard enough where he would record every episode on VHS and like was
Wow.
getting a collection of the entire series before DVDs and stuff. Um,
Right.
so we were really obsessed with Dragon Ball Z, fighting on the trampoline, pretending to be
Yes.
Piccolo, and
I love
yeah,
it.
because I had this weird way of pronunciating Piccolo when I was a kid, and I couldn't say pillow, and I couldn't say Piccolo, and my neighbors and my sister would make fun of me, just always go Piccolo. And then we also, from there, we got into Yu-Gi-Oh! When Yu-Gi-Oh! Started. My first pack of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards ever, I kid you not, my first pack of Yu-Gi-Oh! Cards ever, I got a first edition Blue Eyes White Dragon. It
What?
was dope as fuck. Yeah, and my neighbor Ryan, I think it was his second or third pack, got a first edition Dark Magician. Now, if you aren't
Damn.
set to play that game at that point, then I don't know what you're meant to do because that was just like a Maguire Sosa
Oh yeah.
situation off
I
the bat.
never collected the cards, but I watched the show because I was more of a Pokemon guy. So I had all
Cool.
the Pokemon cards, but I watched
Yeah.
Yu-Gi-Oh too. And having those
You
two
know,
cards is pretty nuts for sure.
it's funny. I completely skipped over that. Yeah, of course I watched Pokemon religiously every weekend
I mean, we're at the
and in the
same age,
mornings.
so
And
it came out
yeah,
at that
I
perfect
played
time for us.
I
For
played
sure.
the card game, and I also played, like, I collected Pokemon cards and I collected Digimon cards, but I didn't like collect them and play with them the way that I was like stoked to play Yu-Gi-Oh. Like I
That's
would like
awesome.
go to like tournaments with my friends.
Damn, that's
Um,
sick.
yeah, there was a card store in town that my friend's dad owned, so like that was just a fun thing to do. And then you could walk home. It was like a mile home, wasn't too bad. Um, but my dad started playing too. So the cool
Wow.
thing was my dad is the shit. He's a super fucking cool guy. He's buff. He loves nerdy shit. Like I never had to uh, ask for like a video game system because he would just buy them because he
Right.
wanted to play.
Yeah.
And my dad still has like the gnarliest comic book collection. Like he has like Hawkman #1. He has like first appearance of Wolverine. He has
That's
the
so
Ninja
cool.
Turtles #1. Like dude's a super G. It's awesome. I
Yeah,
love it.
that sounds sick.
So yeah, he's a really nice, fun guy. Like it's now that I'm an adult, it's just we just drink whiskey and play darts and hang out. It's great, but super cool guy. But so he kind of, I never really had to, and I think it's maybe why it's funny. I think most people would probably have been super obsessed with it if they had all those things in their house.
Right.
But I think just having them all in my house just made it so accessible where I was like, oh, cool. Like, yeah, whatever. My dad even like drew his own comic book and it's
Wow.
awesome. I just talked to him the other day about, I was like, dude, we need to put this out. Like Merch Now used to put out the Coheed book,
Oh yeah.
all those armory books. I was like, I bet you they know where I could print this sucker. Like, I'll call somebody over there. We'll make this shit happen. Because that would be fun as fuck. Even if we just did it for a couple,
Fun. Yeah.
just for fun. Like, I'll spend money on that. Like, that's fine.
I
That
would
sounds
I
like a
would
great time.
I would buy that comic book for sure.
Yeah, it was called Battle Unit Babe 480Z, and it's sick.
That's
She
amazing.
had big boobies. She has super big boobies. Cause like you
The
can't
comic
have a
book, of course.
yeah, gotta have big boobies. So yeah, I guess that was my nerdy stuff was primarily the Yu-Gi-Oh, Dragon Ball Z thing. I didn't really get into video games because my dad was really good at them, and so were my neighbors. So everyone just beat me all the time. Like that's not
Yeah.
fun. I still like I smash with my friends now on tour a lot. Like we'll smash all day. I've won 5 times, and we've probably played 1,000 matches.
Yeah,
So
I'm the same way with video games. I'll just play ones that have super cool stories, and I'm usually not good at them either. I'll die like a million times, but I'll beat it. I'll
yeah, that's
play it on
sick.
normal, beat it. But if it comes to like Mortal Kombat or Smash, like I'll get annihilated, like crushed.
Yeah, I'm a button smasher because the reality is, and the same thing with like the story mode games. I don't have the patience to take the time to learn all these sick moves that I'm gonna do in combo and try it 500 times in a row. I don't fucking care. In the same way that I'm not gonna like take the time to get through the story. Even when I play Pokemon, I'm like Googling shit on YouTube, like how do I get through this fucking cave? I don't want to like I don't want to have to really figure it out. I want somebody else to figure it out for me, and then I'm gonna like do it real quick so I can get to Articuno and get Articuno.
I'm usually
Yeah.
pretty good at that stuff. I'll be able to figure it out and everything. But when it comes to, because I bought like Injustice, which is like the
Oh,
DC
okay.
Mortal Kombat
Yeah.
pretty much, and the storyline is sick, but the moves are impossible. It's like 10 button combinations. And I was just even going through the basic tutorial and I'm like, I can't do this. I was like, who the fuck can do this? I was like, I don't understand.
Yeah. No, I mean some people. It's the same way that like no one could play fucking Dragon Force on Guitar Hero,
Oh
but my
yeah.
dad could play fucking Dragon Force on Excellent on Guitar Hero.
I
He's
had
mad.
friends who were just they'd be like watching TV playing Dragon Force on the
Yeah.
hardest setting, and I'm like, I can't
Yeah.
even play this on easy. Like what?
Yeah. And my neighbor was like that with like Smash and some of those in story mode games, but like Smash is up too where it's like, oh, I'm not even gonna touch the ground. It was like when I tried to play the 21 in basketball against Bobby from Fit for a King once, and then I like didn't score the whole time. And I was
Oh
like,
my
I'm not
god.
gonna do this, you fucking tall piece of shit. I hate you. It's awful.
Oh my god.
Some things you're just not meant to do.
That's
If it was
true.
like,
Very
hey,
true.
let's have a competition. We both get baseball bats and let's see who lives. Like, put me in, coach. Like, I'll figure that one out.
You got a fair shot
But
there.
I got a fair shot on that one. But if it's like, hey, who's gonna, I can't see over Bob. I can't shoot over Bob. Like, that's
Right.
not gonna happen. I'm not like, I could like kick him and then like tackle him, and then when after he's on the ground, maybe pick up the ball and put it in the hoop.
Right.
But that's it. Like, that's not, it's not fair.
No.
And like, some things you're just not meant to do well at.
Right, for
So
sure.
it's okay.
Okay,
Right.
so let's get into metalcore. All right.
Okay. All right.
So, do you remember the band or show that really got you into live music and everything?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. So biggest band from my area ever is Coed in Cambria. And when I was in 8th grade, this wasn't my first show, but this was my first like big show at a venue. Coheed just was putting out Second Stage Turbine Blade, or they did put out Second Stage Turbine Blade. I had a burnt copy of it. I was super obsessed with it.
Yes.
And my mom took me and 3 of my friends to the Chance in Poughkeepsie to see really like the last big local Coheed headliner. It was just them and local support.
Wow.
It was them and this band called Super Goat and this band called 3 and one other band, the something. It's escaping me at the moment. But when they played the song Never Ender, dude, it just changed everything. It hit me right in the heart, and I was just like, oh my God, this is a high unlike anything I've ever felt in my life. This is the coolest shit ever. They were so big, like especially being in 8th grade, you're watching these guys who are local, they were first called Shibuti. You're hearing about them in the span of like a year and a half as I'm first getting into emo. I'm hearing about them.
Right.
They go from playing Crannel to playing the Loft to headlining the Loft to all of a sudden then they're doing a big headliner at the Chance and everyone's like, what? And then it sells out and it's fucking crazy. Wow. And they just put out like their first album and they're selling out their local 850 or so, I think is what the Chance holds cap club.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
And it's crazy just to see anything like that, because also it was one of those bands that you like all the hardcore kids went, all the screamo kids went, all the emo kids went, everybody went just because it was cool, like crazy thing. So that made me just be like, okay, now I really want to learn how to be a good singer. I want to be as screamo as possible. I'm going to play my guitar more seriously. And because around that time, the Thanksgiving of that year, my uncle who plays guitar asked me and my cousin, he was like, hey, anybody want to learn how to play guitar? And I was like, sure. So he gave me a guitar and taught me how to play it.
That's awesome.
And then, yeah, it was sick. And then that Christmas, my parents got me my first I still have it. It's a sick SG. It's an Epiphone. It's like wood worn, but like just a lot like the one that one of the guitar players in Thursday played during like the Signals Over the Air videos and shit from War All the Time era. And I was just, I was so obsessed with it. And everyone was making bands. It was super cool at the time. At least it was funny because I was the only boy in my grade wearing like girls' pants and stuff. It was a very new thing.
Yeah.
But within my small circle, everyone was just so obsessed with music and straight edge and like this alternative culture that I just couldn't think about anything else. It was all encompassing. But I was at the time more keen on like Dashboard Confessional, emo style stuff. Not so much necessarily like the Get Up Kid style stuff. I was more like Conor Oberst, like Bright Eyes, Dashboard. And then from that, I heard Glassjaw Thursday Thrice, and I was like, oh shit. This is crazy. Because that came with the Coheed package, where Coheed was, all singing, except for on a couple tracks, there was like a few little scream parts. But really, Coheed's never screamed.
No.
It was just riffing and intense. And so that was a good medium in between Dashboard and like the super soft stuff to that. And then you have the Thursdays dropping. You have Thrice coming out. I got Identity Crisis, the first Thrice record,
Ooh.
for Christmas when I was in like 7th grade. So I was like pretty hip on that band. And yeah, like that, all that shit just took over. And then I wanted to be so screamo. So I got my first, yeah,
Yeah, that's
got
funny
my
because
first band.
the first heavier bands I listened to were like Silverstein and Census Fail and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
first
So
song I ever, yeah. At my first show, we covered that one Silverstein song.
Smile in Your
That
Sleep,
no, before that, the
Smash
one from the first,
or
Smashed into Pieces.
Pieces.
Yeah,
Hell yeah,
yeah,
that's
yeah.
so sick.
I have a picture from that too. I found the other day. It's really grainy and shitty, but I'm wearing my Life in Your Way T-shirt.
Ooh,
I'm getting super screamo. It's awesome. I have my arm behind my back. You know, doing it
yes,
old school, man.
yeah.
God.
I've talked on the podcast. I talked about the first show that got me into it because the first live show I went to was just a local show. It was just random metal bands because I grew
Mm,
up in this place called Watertown. It's like super small. It's
yeah.
pretty much Canada. And but the first, I guess, quote unquote bigger show I went to, I saw As Tall as Lions in a record
Oh,
store in Utica where I live now. And it was literally in a record store. Like it was a record store and they had the small room seriously the size of a living room, maybe smaller, and they had shows there. And a couple friends I went to high school with, because my high school was kind of the same way. I was the only person who wore girl pants or dressed
yep.
like quote unquote scene. I had stretched ears, swoopy bangs, everything. But I was the only one.
Yeah.
But everyone was cool and liked heavier music. I'd be like, "Hey, check out this band." They're like, "Oh, this band's awesome," and
Yeah.
everyone knew me as like the music guy. So they were like, "Hey, we're gonna go see this band, As Tall as Lions." I only knew one song, "Love, Love, Love," at that time.
Yep. Oh,
And
that song is so good.
oh my god! So I went to go see them, and it's funny because it's actually where I met my wife now in person for the first time. Super weird.
That's crazy.
Yeah. And so I'm watching this band and they just play and like the energy they release from playing and everyone in this small ass room and I've never heard a band sound like that because obviously I've only really seen local bands and I saw Honor Bright played that show
And
too.
the harmonies in As Tall
Dude,
as Lions live. The
whew,
bass player and the singer when they sing together,
yeah.
please.
And
Like, yeah, super.
the drummer will harmonize sometimes too and it'll be three parters and
Oh
it's
shit.
yeah, that band is nuts. And
Super good.
Sam and I saw them on the reunion tour, which was unbelievable.
My old high school pop punk band played the Loft with them on their like farewell run. I think it
Oh,
was.
okay. That's awesome.
Um, yeah, I
I
love
love that
that
band.
band. Yeah,
Yeah.
my side project, we had our EP mixed by Mike Watts at Voodoo Studios primarily because of that record that he did that, and he also did A City's Burn,
Oh,
Son I Loved You.
damn.
So it was like, okay, like this is
That's the guy.
yeah, that's the guy.
And
Um,
super wild, tying into the screamo stuff. Months later, I saw at the same venue, I saw Alisana headlining with Bless the Fall right after his last walk came out, and A Day to Remember was the opening band.
that's insane. That's
And
absolutely insane.
no one knew who Day to Remember was. Like no
Oh yeah,
one. There was like two people singing along, maybe if that.
that's
And
crazy.
Endwell was the opening band, but they dropped for some reason. So it was local
Yeah,
band, A Day to Remember, Bless the Fall, Alisana. Because I went to go see Alisana and Bless the Fall because I loved both those two bands. And then that's how I
yeah.
pretty much I looked up A Day to Remember, but pretty much they only had the video for A Plot to Ban the Panhandle. And that was
What a
it.
song too.
The video with Ron Jeremy and shit in it. And I
Yeah.
was like, oh, this is cool. And then I saw him, I was like, oh, this band's fucking sick. And I don't remember if it was right before or right after For Those Who Have Heart came out. I don't remember, but
That record was so good,
it's
man.
perfect.
You know, my first heavy show I went to was a VFW show in Saugerties, New York, and it was With Honor and Scraps and
Wow.
Heart Attacks. Scraps and Heart Attacks end up being This Is Hell. Um,
Oh, okay.
but
Love This Is Hell.
yeah, that was shortly before I went to that Coed show. This was my first like, hey, what are you doing tonight? Nothing. Oh, like my brother's playing the show. Go to this thing. Okay, and because my neighbor's older brother was playing his first show with his band at that.
That's awesome.
They were called Truth Takes Aim. It was sick. Um, uh, he hated that band name. That's why I had to say it.
That's good.
Because it's, it's really not that good of a band name. But
I've heard
I'm
worse.
not really king band name. My side project is called Off-Road Minivan, and at first glance, or listen, everyone's like, "That's a terrible band name," but they don't understand that I'm talking about dead people and shit.
Right.
Yeah, because it's a dead family. It's funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a funny joke.
It's funny.
You get it? Yeah, that's someone that you cared about, and it's not like it's off road because it flipped,
Right.
and they're dead. Ah, good joke.
Oh man.
Yeah, see, we're talking psycho shit now.
I love it. So what were your first bands like? And then after that, I want to, because I don't know the story, so I'm curious myself mostly. How did your bands leading up lead to you joining Fit for a King?
Okay. Quick version. So my first band was like a screamo band. I tried out for guitar. It was with some guys that were like a year and a half, 2 years younger than me. They were called Annandale, and I tried out for guitar, and then I ended up by the end of the practice just becoming the singer, because they were like, oh well, the guy who's like gonna sing, like he's like way better than you on guitar, but like you can sing and scream, like that's pretty sick, like you should be the singer. And I was like, okay, like that sounds great to me. And then about a year into doing that, I had friends who asked me if I wanted to play in their like hardcore punk band. It's called
Right.
I Shot Marvin. If you're a Pulp Fiction fan, you should
Nice.
understand. And so they handed me a bass and a little amp, and kind of just showed me the ropes. And the goal was just be chaotic. Like at the
Right.
time, there was a band from the area called Ghost Among the Dead, and my friend Steve-O played bass in it, and he rocked out like he was in the chariot. Like they were all just so sick. They were all hot. They all like just had it down. And I was
Right.
like, I'm gonna be like Steve-O. So I'm gonna do that. So I was breaking my back and trying to be super cool, like still wearing your bass kind of high, but you did like super bendy shit. Yeah. Yeah, it was super cool. And then did that for a while, got kicked out of Annandale, and my neighbor Ryan, who I was talking about earlier with like Yu-Gi-Oh and everything, who's my best friend.
Yeah.
I had like introduced him to them, and they kicked me out to take him as the singer. And I
The
was like,
betrayal.
they literally like walked to my house from Ryan's, who's down the street, and like knock on my front door, kick me out of the band, and then like walk back to Ryan's house. I was like, fucking assholes.
Wow.
And that's my best friend. Woo! Yeah, that was fucking cool. But it's funny, I got those recordings from that first band the other day, and they're pretty sick. I sound super screamo in it. It's
Oh
awesome.
yeah.
Made me want to make a screamo band. I Shot Marvin. One of the dudes dated my sister,
Oh
and then
no.
like the band, I forget what happened with that band. They like changed the name to something ridiculous. I stopped being in the band. I don't even remember if I got kicked out or if I left, but I think it had something to do with my sister.
Oh, man.
I've had two guys in bands I've been with date my sister, and it's not cool. And it's not even like my sister's like that. Like she's a super nice lady. She's a
Right.
lady. Especially when she was younger. Like she was not like a party girl, but she's a nice girl. And I always had band practice at my house. These fucking idiots thinking, go get with my sister. Whatever. So um, so after that, I meet these other two dudes, Adam and Zach, and they're like, hey, we are doing this pop punk band. You should join in our pop punk band and play bass and do like co-vocals with me. We're doing like a
Oh.
Blink 182 kind of thing. And it was called Imposterous, like hippopotamus, rhinoceros. That's Imposterous. Terrible band name. Worst band name we've ever had, for sure. I didn't come up with it. Not a huge fan of it, regardless.
What a mid
Not a
2000s
good
pop
band name.
punk band name.
Bro, absolutely. Like, Jesus. Yeah, this is like 2005, 2004. So I ride it out with them. But looking back on it, we wrote good songs. Like, we were
Right.
a pretty good band, and we had a good live show, but terrible band name. But like, it wasn't like our best friends in high school that we played shows with all the time. They were called the Coriolis effect. That's the way the toilet spins and shit. Like everyone,
Jesus.
we had bad band names. Like it just was a time thing. I don't know what happened. I wasn't that pop punk, so I couldn't think of a good pop punk name. I just wanted to be like the starting line. I wanted to be like Kenny because he was so cool.
He is very cool.
So I graduate high school. I'm still an imposterist with my guys. We're going to community college together and self-recording an album and like, still playing shows, trying to do the damn thing. And I have a buddy of mine who I've known forever. He's in a local band called The Last of Our Kind, and they are like a metalcore band. Kind of at the beginning sounded kind of Poison the Well-y, Misery Signals-y. Okay. And they're about to play their first like legit show, and I'll tell you what the lineup is after that. So my friend calls me and he's like, hey, can you fill in for our band? And they just played a show in my backyard. So I was like, yeah, this band is, and they played with no bass player, and I was like, well, the band is really cool, and I love that style of music at the time. So I was like, yeah, this sounds great. I'll come try out. So we're at the stage where we're like practicing at one of their friends like gazebos out back. Like we're like yeah, like nobody in the band even had like a house to like practice at. Like they were a really good band, but the shit wasn't like organized.
Right.
So I joined the band, and then I was like, well, I have a PA system. Like, you guys can come practice at my house. My parents are really cool, blah, blah, blah. So that was a nice time. So we start getting prepared for the show. Now, before we start practicing at my parents' house, the show that we played was Bury Your Dead, Bring Me the Horizon, Ion Dissonance, and Nights Like These in the Loft. Sold out. And this was one of the first Bring Me tours in the US. I had never heard of them. I'd only been going to like pop punk shows that I was playing at the time. So I'm coming and I show up and I'm seeing kids I've never seen before. Everyone's glammed out, scened out super hard. And my mind is just blown. I'm like, What is this? Dude, I'm literally standing on the stairs of the stage watching Nights Like These, and Ollie Sykes comes and stands next to me. Got his big puffy jacket on.
Yes.
Super G'd out, bro. And I'm like, cool. Like, I have no idea what the fuck's going on. And everything changed that day. Like, wow. It was just like, okay, this is cool. Like, these guys know what's up. Like, they're playing shows like this. Okay, I need to be in this band.
Right.
And that's when it turned from it literally, and it's the funniest thing, that's in my life when it turned from like bell-bottom girl jeans to straight leg jeans. I'll put it that way.
The ultimate flip.
Yeah, it was like, bro, no, like it's the switch from the Converse to the Air Force One.
Yes.
It's it's like, nah, we're a little more G than that, bro. We're not like just up here being, super scene. We're like kind of cool. It was crazy. It changed my life. So these guys were all really hip, really cool, really talented, starting to get on a lot of shows. They were down to play all the time. They were down to practice all the time, just hungry, hungry, hungry hippos. And it was awesome. So we played a lot. And I was in that band for quite a few years, probably like 4 or 5. Eventually, we went through like a few member changes.
Right.
All in all, the band was incredible, in my opinion. But we didn't write a lot of music. We didn't put out a lot of music because nobody had their shit together. Nobody had any money. Nobody was willing to do that kind of work. They were down to practice and play shows, but eventually those things come to a head, and it's like, well, how are we going to get a van? How are we going to get anywhere else to play and all these things? Eventually, that's another project I got kicked out of because me and the singer did not get along. I think he sucks, and I still think he sucks, but that band was awesome. Eventually they did get signed and put out a record with your previous guest. Well, actually the record never came out. Dan DeFonce was an A&R at Media Scare and signed them to Media Scare. And there was because of drama, the record never came out. And they have a music video that's never seen the light of day. But the album is on YouTube. Someone put it up. I don't know who the fuck put it up, but it's The Last of Our Kind, Diamonds in the Rough or something like that from Aladdin on YouTube. You can go listen to it if you want to. Because the
Yeah,
band was cool.
I
Like
think I
if you
might
were
check that
into like
out, honestly.
yeah, if you were into like really fast, like Memphis Mayfire, early Architects, like techie
Ooh,
riffage with like really intense screaming, like band was cool. They were gonna do things, but just a little too volatile within themselves. I think
yeah.
they needed, they needed someone to crack the whip on them. But so I got kicked out of that band, and then locally, so there was a buddy of mine who was like, "Hey, why don't you come play bass and sing in my band?" Literally, the night I got kicked out of my band, I went to a show to hang out with my friend Jeff Menig and Chris Aiken, and Chris was like, "Oh, why don't you join my band?" And I was like, "Well, actually, I don't want to join your band, but I think would be a good idea. Why don't we break up this other band? It was called the Interstate Affair. We're going to get Melvin, Dave, and Chris from that band. You're going to quit your band, and then we're going to start a new band. And
Oh,
it's going to be sick." And he was like, "Huh, this is interesting." Okay. So we did that. Band, I called my friend Matt from Our Last Night. I was like, "Matt, can we come record with you?" We went and did 4 songs with him, and he sang on a song. So that
ooh.
helped us to like get out at that time, especially features were like, I mean, features are still a great thing. They help
Yeah, but
getting some
especially then,
people
that
out
was
there.
because that was that like right after the first Artist Night record came out then too?
This is when we'll all evolve era, Our Last Night,
Oh,
I think.
wow.
But yeah, they were like my first like real band friend.
Right.
So Matt had us like come and because he was at the time recording a lot of bands too. So we went to New Hampshire, did an EP with him. It was super fun. Started putting that out, and the band started like doing pretty well. Like we got to the point where locally we could headline and have like 250, 300 people. And of a long story short, eventually we had been talking to Roadrunner for like a year, and we got really close to getting signed. We went and played a showcase show at the weekend of Bamboozle. So like all the big
Wow.
heads are in town. So we get our manager like rents out this small jazz club. It's literally us playing on stage, complete darkness in between, and then like 8 people in the back of the room watching us.
Oh my
And
God.
it was like 2 reps from Roadrunner, and like, dude, we played well, but you can't just pretend there's a crowd. Like it's hard to get that energy.
Yeah,
So he just
it's so different.
yeah. So he didn't sign the band. We left like, not knowing, and then that next week he called and was like, "Yeah, sorry, it just wasn't for me." After all that time of like talking to him and thinking that it was really going to happen, it's
Right.
pretty heartbreaking.
Oh yeah.
So the band continues shortly for a while, but our manager at the time picks up a band called Sworn In. Sworn In
Oh, so you
starts
were managed by
taking.
Jeff too then?
Oh yeah, Jeff's one of my
Oh
best
yeah.
friends in the whole
Jeff
world.
Jeff's awesome.
Yeah, he was my mentor when I was in high school because I was booking shows at my Elks Lodge when I was like 15 years old. My parents would rent out the Elks Lodge for me, and I'd get bands to come and all the shit, and that's how I'd fund all my bands. Um,
It's awesome.
it was great. It was super fun. My parents were just like, "You're our little hustler. Like, go ahead, do
Oh.
whatever the fuck you want." Like, they were super nice. So Jeff took to me early on because he was the guy who booked all the shows in the
Yeah.
area. And so we had the Wonder Years play my Elks Lodge. The
Hell
years
yeah.
gone by, like a bunch of cool bands. It was sick. But so Jeff was managing us. Also started managing Sworn In. Sworn In starts popping off.
Oh yeah.
So Chris takes the opportunity, our screamer, he leaves the band and starts tour managing Sworn In and being with them all the time. And at first, this was very heartbreaking. I told him what a piece of shit he was and blah, blah, blah. I was very mad. Angry little troll, man. And then, so he's going out on all these amazing tours. Now I'm playing bass, screaming, and singing in Visions.
Oh my
Um, our
God.
our drummer, the drummer of Visions was the drummer in that band, That's Outrageous. And because That's
Oh.
Outrageous had come to an end because Doriano joined What Was Me. So he starts playing Visions, and then since we didn't get signed, Chris leaves, and then the drummer's like, "Well, I don't really want to do this anymore either." So we have this like new girl drummer who was amazing. I'm playing bass, screaming, singing. It was weird. The whole band really started to change. And then we just stopped. And it was like, yeah, this is too much. We went on one more tour, and it was just bad. This dude booked it, and like half the dates like didn't even like exist. He was just terrible.
Classic
Yeah,
DIY tour
I'd
right there.
I'd say his name because I know he still exists, but I'm not going to do that. But I want to, you motherfucker. But so Chris is touring all the time with Sworn In. Sworn In starts doing all these amazing tours and really doing extremely, extremely well, especially on that first album cycle for the Death Card. Through that, Chris meets a band called Fit for a King and becomes good friends with them. Jeff also knew them because they played the Loft a few times. The current bass player, Aaron, bailed on a tour and got subsequently kicked out of the band.
Makes
so
sense.
They had a fill-in for that US tour. It was like a For Today Straight from the Path tour. And then they had a different fill-in on an Australian tour after that, but hadn't really found their guy yet. And I had, because of Chris and Jeff both kind of put their neck out for me and was like, hey, like, you should try this guy out. Like, he's good. He puts on a great live show. He's a great singer. Try him out. So I did an acoustic cover of the song Keep Me Alive. I did like just iPhone videos of me singing a few of the songs just to playing it through speakers. So I'd be like, yo, I can really sing this shit. Like, this is no auto-tune, nothing. Like, this is just me singing. And then I sent them a song that I wrote with my friend who was from That's Outrageous, Max. And we wrote this song called Selfish Eyes. That song appeared on Slave to Nothing, the first album I did with the band. But that was the song that really got it for me, where Jared somehow, because primarily I'm texting and messaging with Jared, and they were hesitant on me because me and Jared talked on the phone once, and he was just like, wow, this guy cusses like a lot. Like, this is very not Texas. So he eventually, like 3 months later, goes back through our messages and hears the song Selfish Eyes, which also the original version that Max and I did is better than the one that's on the record.
Really?
And it's wow. On SoundCloud still. I'll send you a link to it.
Cool.
It's sick. There was some magic in that one.
Also, what year was this?
This is 2014.
Okay, cool.
But maybe like, so I joined in like April 2014. So maybe I started talking to them like the end of 2013. But so they find, like, Jared listens to this song and he's like, oh shit, this is cool. Sends it to the other guys. He was like, yo, we should actually have this guy come try out. He calls me and I'm on my third day of like a new job of training at this restaurant. And he was like, hey, how soon can you get to Texas? And I was like, well, how soon do you want me? And he was like, is 4 days okay? And I was like, yeah. So I was like, yeah, sure, buy the ticket. Because at this time, like, I lived in a house with like 7 other people, and most of them were in college and graduating. And I had told my parents and everybody about the band. So, and I kind of gave everyone the heads up, like, yo, if I get this call, like, I'm out of here.
Right.
I didn't know it would be like that. But yeah. So he asks for 4 days. I take my car off the road. I move everything to my parents' house, and I leave for Texas. In like a span of like a week and a half, I learned like 9 songs, and then we went and did a tour with Sirens and Sailors and Kublai Khan from Texas to New Jersey. And that was just my tryout. One of the last dates of the tour, we played in Albany, New York at that place that closed down. I forget its name. Bogies, thank you.
Oh, yeah.
And right before our encore, like in between the set and the encore, Kirby announces that they're going to have me join the band. And I cried.
Oh, my God.
And my mom and dad were there, and my best friends. And it was like super emotional. So I ended up getting to join this band. And then like the next day or two, we go one night at my parents' house, and then we go play they changed the name back after Bamboozled to whatever the hell the festival was originally called, Skate and Surf. You know, play Skate and Surf.
Oh, yeah.
And then we had 2 days at my parents' house to chill, and then we went and made the album Slave to Nothing.
Yeah. That's
So it was
awesome.
like pretty crazy because it was definitely at the time the band was, we were going out on tour getting $100, $125 a night.
Right.
We weren't doing anything crazy. We weren't a super popular band. They had put out one record. They had done like 2 legit tours in the States, but they were starting to
Right.
get some popularity. And it was one of those things where it was like, well, we don't know if we can really pay you or if this can, how much money you'll make or whatever. But if you just come out and you'll try, like, we'll just have you. And, if it works out, it works out.
Right.
And luckily I got to do it then and join the band and make art with them. And they gave me a lot of liberty to be creative on Slave to Nothing, which I think in the end hurt because I had never made an album before. So by the time I didn't really consider, I'd never written songs in a studio. I'd always written songs
Oh,
live.
yeah.
So then I write all these parts and then I go to play them and sing them. And I'm like, oh my God, this is so hard. And that creates a lot of criticism.
Right.
But I think all in all, the band has turned into the band that we wanted it to anyway,
Yeah.
where, I do my parts that are like my Dallas Greeny parts that make me
Yes.
happy.
Yeah.
And then Ryan does the like girthy man shit. And the reality
Yeah.
was like, I sing like a girl. I don't sing like I never wanted to sing like a man. I really honestly never did. I wanted to sing like Haley. I wanted to sing like
Yes.
uninhibited and just rip. Like, fuck dudes. Like, that's stupid. I want to be Celine Dion. I want to do crazy shit.
You want to hear something super funny too? Because I think this is kind of, I guess at Fit for a King, you could probably get because metalcore is a big spread of different sounding bands, obviously, especially over the years. Yeah. And I think Fit for a King sometimes gets lumped into the typical metalcore, I guess,
Yeah.
So
I would say we're pretty like close to that, like As I Lay Dying staple metalcore thing.
Yeah, and I think probably people think differently than what it really is. And I knew you could sing. So we're at iMatter, and my wife Sam never really listened to you guys. And as soon as you start playing and you're going fucking insane, she's like, what the fuck? Because we talked to you earlier in the catering part and everything. And she's like, holy shit. And then when you started singing, I was like, wait for this. And then you start singing, and she just looks at me and goes, what? And I was like, yeah, he's incredible.
Oh,
and she's like, holy shit, I did not expect that. And I go, I know, it's awesome.
Yeah, I look like a thumb. I don't really look like the most sensual singer. I look like a muscular thumb. But thank you. That's really kind.
And she had respect for you too, because you were doing yoga and everything. And she's like into yoga and Pilates and stuff.
Yeah.
So she's like, oh man, he's doing yoga. He's smart as fuck. Because at that point I haven't played shows for years, but then when I went and played those 2 shows with The World We Knew, murdered me because I didn't stretch because I'm a fucking idiot. And then I started doing yoga the week after because my body was like just stiff. I couldn't even turn my neck. My body was like, fuck you. You haven't done this in years. I was going to the gym and stuff and doing a little bit of cardio. I wasn't winded at all. I was fine. It was just my neck.
But your muscles aren't used to that. Yeah.
My neck and my back were like, I hate you so fucking much. Fuck you forever. But I started doing yoga, and within 2 or 3 days, my neck and back were like fine. She's like, here, I'm gonna find this video for you. It was all just neck. It was like super neck back yoga. It took like 15 minutes.
Yeah.
But then after, you just feel like normal. And I was like, fuck, this is crazy. I was like, next time I play a show, I'm gonna be doing this weeks before and weeks after, so I'm not dying the next day.
Yeah, it became a regular part. Now, mind you, I've been really bad about it the last 4 weeks. But yeah, yoga became a big part of my life because playing every day, my knees, my ankle, and my back were just fucked up, man. Like, especially at the time, we're sleeping in a 15-passenger.
Yeah.
My knees hurt super bad. My back hurts super bad. I can't even really sit up often. Like, this is kind of tough. So yoga really changed that. And the time that I really got into it was Warped Tour 2017 because we were still in a 15-passenger van and it's 100 degrees out, so you can't hang out in the van.
No.
So I was like, well, if I'm going to be outside, like, I got to do stuff. So we were working out all the time. So I was lifting like crazy. And then just every time I wasn't lifting, I was eating or doing yoga.
Right.
And it was so hot out that it was like hot yoga, and it made me very limber and really got me into it, where I was like, man, if I can do this, like, I can do it anywhere. But I felt my pain go away. I felt my
Right.
back pain go away. I felt my knee pain go away. And it also, while I perform, it allows me to stay relaxed. So a lot of the times, the thing is, you haven't played in a while. So that first time you go up there, you're super tight and you're just like, yeah, fuck.
Yeah.
And you got to be loose. Like if you're
Yes.
loose while you do it, which a lot of my stuff, the way I play is very, it's like, I don't know, like Drunken Samurai. Like it's just kind of loose. And it's
Loosey
funny because
goosey.
I'll never play drunk. I physically can't because I'll throw up.
Oh, because you're just spinning around
Because I
so
just
much.
run around the whole time. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I get myself in this place of like 1 and 2 and 3 and
Yeah.
4 and
It's like a
pop
rhythm
and
to
shake it.
it.
Yeah. It's like, you know, so it's all about being loose. And then so you know, that helped me to kind of overall maintain this aura. And a lot of that was from my friend Alex from our last night.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Woody. A lot of people call him Woody. Is a super good yogi, and he also has very cool stage moves, and I admire his stage moves. So I was like, you know what, I should probably try this stuff, and I did, and I love it. I think it's great, and it came a little naturally because I grew up doing Taekwondo. My mother taught
Oh,
Taekwondo throughout my childhood, and has her black belt, and I got my black belt when I was like 13 or 14.
damn.
So I was pretty flexible from all that, and that's where all the kicks come and shit. Like,
Yeah.
you know, the super punch of looking like I'm gonna kill Kirby and shit because I will. Yeah, that's what every night I have this one spot where I do this punch where I get close to him, where it's like if Kirby's head is this, I try to punch like right over his head, where everyone's like, "Shit, he's gonna kill him." I'm like, yeah,
He's gonna knock
it's
his head off
awesome.
his shoulders.
Yeah, it's fun. It gives me something to do, and but yeah, so I being flexible and dancing and doing taekwondo and all these things. I was also a theater nerd in high school. I did
Oh, okay.
musical theater all like 9th through 10th through graduating high school. I essentially transitioned out of sports and strictly did musical theater. And I would do like 2 or 3 plays a year. And I just wanted to sing and dance and be on Broadway.
That's awesome.
Um, but eventually, I started doing like community theater in my summers. And then you start seeing like real competition outside of your high school. And
Right.
you're like, oh, wow, some of these people are really fucking good. Like, I'm not going to be on Broadway. I was like, I have a better shot being in a van with people. And that's why at the time, so my whole year was just musical theater, my bands, and then school took like
Right.
a third for sure. Like, it took the back seat. And so by the time I graduated high school, I was like, okay, I'm not going to do the theater thing. I'm going to go to community college because my parents want me to go to college. And I'm just going to play in my bands. And that's going to be it. And stuck to it. But man, it was great. I had a good ride. I mean, I was always one of those, I liked high school because I was more focused on the social aspect of it. And I
Yeah.
got to do a lot of cool shit in high school. Like, I was the vice president of SAD, Students Against Destructive Decisions, and
Oh,
through
wow.
that, I got to book. I know, how ironic. Right now, I'm a huge pothead, but um,
I mean, that's fine. It's not that
yeah,
big of a deal.
but yeah, through that, I got to book concerts at my high school all the time, which was
Oh,
really nice. So they would let me rent out the gymatorium, and luckily, in our town, there's a company called Firehouse Productions who puts together PA systems for everything from Lauryn Hill to Radiohead to Oprah tours to
damn.
crazy shit. And most people in the town have no idea it's even there. But they would lend me a PA system whenever I wanted to put on concerts because it would just
Wow.
be like, they had the craziest gear ever. So to what they lent me, it was like, these are fucking toys. Like, here you
Right.
go. But they were so kind that even one of the guys would like talk me through setting it up on the phone and all this stuff. And this is
Wow.
to a 15-year-old kid. Like, I was a
Right.
child. So it was just music all the time, man. And everything that I did was to like subsequently, even, you know, with like the sad thing, I did that because I was straight edge, because I was into alternative culture and I was doing that
Yeah.
with my friends who were also into music. But the first moment I, you know, got the chance, I was putting on shows. Everything was about music. Everything was about
Right.
playing shows, putting on shows. And I put on shows so I could play them, but also make all the money.
Yeah, for sure.
It was like, why do one? Like, that's dumb as hell. Like, no, like, everyone wants to go to a show. Cool. Everyone give me money. That sounds great.
That's
And
funny too, because that's how I made money in college, was booking shows, which is
where'd you go to college? Which area did you stay in upstate New York?
yeah, I went in Utica to MV. I went for graphic design, hence why I'm
Cool.
still a designer. But yeah, I was like helping people book shows in high school, and then I just kind of started doing it by myself, and
Yeah.
it was kind of the same thing, but it wasn't. So in Watertown, they had this awesome building, and it was called Velocity Fun Center. So you walk in, there's like a little cafeteria with like a pizza. They sold pizza and all the normal like shit. And upstairs they had
Cool.
laser tag. And then if you go past where it wasn't really a cafeteria, it was more just like a little spot where you could sit and buy pizza and stuff. And then they had this
Mhm.
huge like inflatable obstacle course and everything. And right across from that, they had this empty room where sometimes I would throw shows in, but they had an actual venue downstairs called the Dungeon. And I saw some crazy ass shows there because one of the dudes who's a partner in After Dark in upstate New York,
Mhm.
he used to book in Watertown. So I've known him since I was a
Nice.
teenager. And he used to put my really old emo slash pop punk band on shows back in the day and all that shit. And then
Very sick.
then he left and moved to Syracuse and started the whole thing, which eventually ended up him joining After Dark. But I would book shows there. Me and him teamed up on like a Wonder Years show in the upstairs part, and he booked For Strong in the downstairs part back in the day, and he did that
That's
crazy
sick.
Metro Station Forever the Sickest Kids Danger Radio tour. The Main was
Yep.
on it too. The Main played the Dungeon a fuckload of times. And then in high school, I booked like Transit a ton of times, Lost for Words a ton of times.
Yep.
One of the times I booked Transit, I put State Champs on it, and State Champs, because I was just friends with State Champs.
Yeah.
And my old hardcore band of State Champs did their first weekend together, which is super fucking weird. Their first T-shirt design was like
Which one? Ghost Ship?
no, Atlas. There's this band called Atlas
Oh.
from Watertown. They're the reason I joined Ghost Ship, because I would play all the shows they would play. Like when Cruel Hand would play Syracuse, they'd have us play, but Ghost Ship would play too. So, and their Ghost Ship's guitar player he was a drummer actually, and he joined Off of Their Heads as the drummer.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then he eventually joined Polar Bear Club. They both ended up breaking
That's
up
sick.
after, but it's like he joined Off Their Heads, they broke up, then they got back together, then he joined Polar Bear Club, then they broke up after like 1 or 2 album cycles. But
I don't understand why that band broke up right when
the
they were
dude's
about to pop.
Polar Bear Club,
Mhm.
it's the dude's voice. It like if you listen to their last record, it's not the same. It's like super soft, weird. It's like not Polar Bear Club, but he couldn't sing the same way, like the huge, like the super
he lost his
aggressive.
voice.
Yeah, he like fucked up his throat or something. I don't know the exact details, but I know it was something like that. Like and their last record did terrible because it wasn't Polar Bear Club, it was like something completely different, and it wasn't like a gradual evolution to that. It was just Polar Bear Club record, then this is insanely different. But that's how I
That
joined
sucks.
Ghost Ship, because they were like, "Hey, will you fill in for us?" And then I filled in for them, and then they were like, "Do you want to just join?" And I go, "Yeah, sure." And that's how that
That's
happened.
super cool.
But yeah, it's the same thing. When I was in college, I like booked Big D and the Kids Table and all this
Nice.
stuff that I never thought I would book. But yeah, State Champ's first design on that weekend, it was like a Juggalo. It was like a weird ICP ripoff thing. It was just super funny
Oh
to
my
think
God.
of now. We played we played a shitty VFW hall in Binghamton, maybe 50 people there, and then we played Albany with them, and we both were under the Ataris. And it was the Ataris when they were
Wow.
super shot, like insanely shot, and they would play nothing off So Long Astoria. Nothing. I think they played one song off it. They were so jaded on the
Why?
cover making them big that they didn't want to do anything to do with it. And then it was seriously like 2 or 3 years later, they did like the anniversary tour, which everyone loved. It didn't do crazy well, but they were doing a couple hundred people a night. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
In that retrospect, that was the Ataris doing great.
That guy was trapped before Trapped.
Yes. Yeah.
He was like crazy. I heard he
Yeah.
was
He was
to deal
insane.
with.
Yeah. He was very, very crazy. Super weird show. And that show did terrible too. And then we ended up playing one of State Champs, I think, first big headliners in Albany. And I don't even think they headlined. I think it was a reunion show, and they were either direct support or something like that. And it was at Bogey's. And I don't even think it sold out. It just did a few hundred people, which obviously in Bogey's is packed as fuck because it's like a long hallway.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, it's super crazy to see them now, because for a while I didn't see him for years, and then I saw him at So What Fest in like 2015 or something, the year Under Oath played when they came. It was the comeback tour. And I saw them at that, and I was like, fuck. Yeah, it's weird because we've definitely been in a million places at the same time
Oh yeah,
over the years.
definitely. That was
Were
a hell
you,
of a show, man.
because you were in the band on that Attila tour, right? Sirens and
I
Sailors, I
was
think was on.
not.
You weren't? Oh,
Nope.
okay. Then you weren't
No,
there.
the first, yeah, I wasn't. They did an Attila tour. I forget. I think Plot was on that with them, and
Yep.
maybe like
Yep.
Upon a Burning Body.
Yeah, I think
Um,
so.
but no, that was before my time. They did that and a For Today headliner like before me, and those were their like big
Big ones.
tours they did beforehand. But yeah, interesting. That So What show was so fucking good.
Yeah.
That one that Under Oath came back on. That was a
That
great day.
those 2 days were insane. Unreal.
I had
So
so much fun. Yeah.
yeah, same here. So for the new For King album, did the pandemic affect the rollout of it at all, or is it still going according to plan?
As of right now, everything is still going according to plan. But it definitely it's not technically affecting the rollout.
Right.
But would I have loved to release my album on the tour that I said I was going to?
Yeah.
Dude, oh yeah,
Of course.
yeah. Because obviously, I mean, this is I guess we can talk about it publicly. It's not announced yet, but more than likely, the Parkway Drive tour will probably shift dates.
Yeah.
It's obviously not 100% out there publicly and personally or whatever, but it's the end of August, so we can't really do that, and that's when we were planning on putting out the album. Well,
Mm.
we don't want to delay the album. We still want to get everything out and
Right.
get that moving, so that way when we do return, we'll be playing new stuff. It'll be great.
People already
Stinks
know
we
it.
didn't get, yeah, stinks we didn't have a proper farewell to Dark Skies, but it's okay. Shit happens, man. I'd
For
rather
sure.
just be gigging. So it will be affected slightly, but who
Yeah.
cares? Yeah.
Are you stoked on this new album?
It is my favorite Fit for a King album for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's funny actually. I have had some issues here and there with certain ones where, put it this way, like Dark Skies, our last one, I didn't listen to it for like 3 months after it was done.
Really?
Oh yeah, I was mad I didn't sing enough. And
Oh. Was that
I
like a
was like,
collective decision?
yeah, like it was really a lot of it came down to a collective decision as a band where like we all needed Kirby to start singing choruses, but it was a
Gotcha.
hard thing for me to not do. But also like Drew, our producer, was just like, yeah, like you just really don't have a metal voice. Like this isn't doesn't make a lot of sense if you're trying to be a metal band. So that's why I just sing like the Dallas Greeny R&B parts now,
Yeah.
because those are like that's just something that Ryan can't do.
Yeah.
At least like the way that I do it,
Right.
like it's not that he can't do it, but it's different
It's not
when
the
we sing
same. Yeah.
those parts. Yeah. So that one was like a hard one for me to swallow, but this album, everyone came into it really knowing their place, but also bringing Daniel Gailey into the swing of things helped too, because now one thing that we learned on Dark Skies was, especially as we started playing it, we wanted the solo sections to be sicker. We
Right.
wanted the shred to be shreddier.
Yeah.
Not that we wanted to be shreddy everywhere, but just like when we were doing it, we
You do
wanted it
it.
to be
Yeah.
better. And Daniel has all of that. So having him there with us while we're writing this was really, really fun to be able to add that extra spice on the meat, just dazzle it in there. And it's just fun writing. I think we're all in a better place mentally than we've ever been. We're all better friends and more in love with each other than we've ever been. Like,
It's awesome.
the band has gotten bigger. It has gotten more
Yeah.
successful, and through that creates happiness.
For sure.
Because that's
That makes
just
sense.
how the world works. Like people can say the whole thing like money doesn't buy happiness. Fuck you. Yes, it does. Absolutely. You're wrong. And it's not like we're crushing it. We have big goals, but we're living a life that we're very happy with, and it's feeling like things are starting to pay off, like our hard work is starting to pay off. And maybe some of the things that have been harder for us, like one of the things that's hard for Fit for a King as an entity is sitting at the cool kids table,
Right.
because we are on a Christian label. We're not on Fearless or Epitaph or
Saffron.
whatever. Like we're kind of labeled a certain way, even though it might not be true. Like some
Right.
people, like I've heard a bunch of times, like, oh, you guys are too preachy. We've never fucking preached.
No, I've never heard. I've seen Fiffer King
We
a
all
billion
we
times.
yeah, all we ever say at the end is God bless, have a good night.
Right.
That's it. Like we don't even do it. So it's and it's funny because I just saw a Hate 5-6 post of a Beloved video from back in the day.
Wow. Yeah,
From
that's
it was
weird.
a Beloved video from Hellfest,
Ah, okay.
and I think he said it was 2004. But my point in that is, you watch this video and it's like everyone and their mother like climbing on top of each other, singing along, going crazy, whole thing. Back in the day, it didn't matter if you were on Trustkill, Solid State, Equal Vision, whatever,
Yeah, it didn't.
Ferret.
Yeah.
Everybody fucked with each other.
Yep.
Where now, because of the PC culture, which I'm not saying it's a bad thing in the grand scheme, but because of
Right.
PC culture, people don't fuck with religion, and people don't. There's certain bands that, despite what they'll say, they don't want to fuck with us.
Yeah,
And
it sucks when people get pigeonholed in that kind of stuff, because that happened with Ghost Ship in the beginning. Is everyone's like, oh, they're a straight edge band, I can't like them because they're straight edge, and then I had to work super hard to like change the branding of everything and all the new
yeah,
songs we wrote, because we ended up getting a new singer, which is funny because the singer we had until the end was the dude who booked Hellfest. Random.
oh no shit,
Yeah, he was an architect and founded Hanging, all that shit.
dude,
And
Architect, what a band!
yeah.
That band
Well,
was
it's
sick.
funny because near the end, because most of the members couldn't tour, the guitar player and the bass player were playing in the band. So we were basically Architect playing Ghost Ship songs with me and a different drummer. Pretty
Bro,
much.
that's one of those bands that like nobody knows about, but they're so good.
Yeah, they're
Architect
psycho
is
shit.
so good. Yeah,
Straight up psycho music. Seriously.
yeah, yeah.
um
Kind of like the Red Chord, like that kind of shit.
yeah, for sure. But that we had
Most,
the same problem, obviously on a way smaller scale. But
yeah,
it, especially in Syracuse and stuff, that we're like, hey, we may be straight edge dudes, because all the new music we wrote like one or two straight edge songs, and the rest were
yeah,
just positive songs. And we're just like, it's cool. You don't need to be straight edge like us. It's fine, But I
yeah.
totally get how that happens. It's almost like
And some,
if you're not on Pure Noise or Fearless or Epitaph, it's kind of like you're not cool in a sense. You know what I mean?
yeah. And some bands break the mold. I think
Oh
that
yeah,
Impending Doom did a great job where no one really is, like holds them into the group. People still love Impending
which is
Doom.
wild because
And
they are super Christian even now. I saw them play
Nailed
at
Dead Risen.
Yeah, I saw them
Like,
play at iMatter, and they're playing, and he's like, I see a bunch of fake Christians out there. And I was like, probably no one out there is Christian. They just love Impending too.
yeah, dude, absolutely. And yeah, what a wild thing, man. And then I guess ABR is the other one, truly
Oh,
too.
yeah, for sure.
That, but I love both of those bands, and I think that it's a good thing for our band to go through, because we've also never been the band that you've seen it at times before with, say, like a Woe Is Me, where some bands just come on the scene and they just
Yeah.
skyrocket right to the top, and they're headlining big numbers, and they're doing that whole like, but just as quickly as they came, sometimes they
The
go.
fall, yeah.
And for us, I think we're really lucky to have had people like August Burns Red as mentors and as friends, because we've watched their trajectory where they've always done this.
Yeah. And now they're like
They're
bigger than they've
Grammy
ever been.
nominated. They're
Yeah.
bigger than they've ever been. They're top 10 Billboard, a massive band.
Yeah.
And
Huge.
they're also the nicest, most humble dudes. They did it right. They did it without changing their style.
Yeah, they've
They
just
did
been
it
that
without
same band.
being
Yeah.
anybody else. It's awesome. So we want to maintain that same kind of thing, where I want to be able to play in this band, for the next fucking 20 years if I can. I want to
Yeah.
play in this band as long as I can. And that's part of too with, some people may be butthurt at times, like our newest song. People will see the comment, oh, now they're trying to sound like Kill Switch Engage. Oh, they're trying to sound like Parkway Drive. One, fuck yeah, I am. It's awesome.
Hell
And
yeah.
two, what's wrong with that? For every person that has a negative comment about that towards those bands, even like Parkway with their newest album, it's definitely more heavy metal.
Yeah.
For every one fan that they lost because it's not metalcore enough, they gained five.
They probably gained 10, honestly.
Yeah, it's like, well, this band's huge now.
Yeah, Parkway Drive is
Cool. And
fucking massive.
massive, massive band worldwide. Yeah, I know the rooms I was going to get to play in before coronavirus, and they were going to be crazy.
Yeah.
It's just one of those things where if you love Fit for a King, if you love any band, if you're a fan of them, you want them to be a band forever. It shouldn't be so important to you where it's like, no, they have to remake this niche album a million times for me.
Yeah.
You should want them to have a career. You should
Yeah.
want me to be able to continue to afford health insurance and
Yes.
to have a nice life. Like if you're really a fan of the band, then that's what you want. You want the band itself to do well. And we will always write heavy tunes. We will always write ridiculous breakdowns. It's just sometimes we will also write something that's a little bit more radio friendly.
Yeah, of
And
course.
it's not like I'm going to give you 12 of them. I'm just going to give you like a couple. Shut up, enjoy it. It's great.
That's the normal trajectory for any metalcore band. The goal
Yeah,
is to be able to play for more people and reach more people. Like why, look at Bring Me the Horizon. They were a deathcore band, now they're a radio band.
absolutely. And luckily they had a supermodel as a frontman the whole way through, and that definitely
True.
helps. Because that's not a very common. Where you have this like fashionista style, like entrepreneur, beautiful genius, poet, frontman. But he's everything. He's perfect. But yeah, it takes time to transition, and we're not trying to transition. We're just adding another spice to the meal. That's it.
You
And
can't put
we've
out the
been
same
adding it
album.
in slowly. Yeah,
Yeah,
we've
you
been
can't
doing
put
it slowly. So, whatever. But it's fun. We are enjoying it, and I'm excited to get this new album out because it's not. It's got a little bit of everything that you like in Fit for a King. I think similar.
Awesome.
It's basically like if we took Dark Skies, we took the most popular songs, be that like When Everything Means Nothing, Price of Agony, Backbreaker, Shattered Glass, like took our favorites and then like focused on those where it's like, okay, well, we need to write these ones seem to really go over well with fans. So like how can we touch upon these flavors again but do it really well? And I think that's wise for any artist.
Yeah. 100%.
I don't want to fight against what our audience wants. I want to provide what our audience wants.
Yeah.
So it's been really enjoyable, man. And our producer Drew that works with the band, he's quickly become like one of our best friends. And I spend a lot of time with him outside of the music making while we're out in LA. And we go to workout classes together and like hang out and go get food and drink and chill. And it's interesting watching like him as a producer work with us because he eats, sleeps, and drinks the band like 24/7. All he does is listen to the demos and listen to the songs. Right. So it's a cool experience, man. I can't wait to get it out to everyone. I think they're gonna like it.
Oh yeah. Do you have any advice for younger bands trying to, make it as a full-time band?
Give up, you loser.
No.
No, not at all. Because the interesting thing at the same time, even though we are technically like signed, I have a side project called Off-Road Minivan, and it's not metalcore, but we are like releasing our debut full length at the moment, putting out singles and stuff. But long story short, I'm realizing, how hard it is to get your music out to the masses and to get a lot of people interested in what you're doing. And it is very difficult. And even when you do have a pre-made platform already, it's still hard. I think the most important thing for bands these days is, I think a lot of bands now, because everyone and their mother records. Yeah. So they're like, okay, well, I can just like have this and it sounds pretty good. And I think that's great. And it's good for getting out music. But I think one of the things that helps the most is, say you're a really big Fit for a King fan. Okay, well, go record with Andreas Magnuson or Will Putney or or Nick Sampson or Drew Folk or somebody that we've worked with. Mm-hmm. Go get that sound. You can purchase it. You yourself can purchase it. It will be more expensive than Joe Schmo in his basement next to your mom's house.
Yeah.
But what you get out of it will be infinitely better because you'll be working with people that really know what they're doing. And it's just, and this is hard. A lot of people are struggling to get by. They're working really hard to pay their bills and to afford rent or whatever. But I know that with my bands, and I still do this with my side project, it's everything. If I have to put money into it, if I have to put time into it, if I have to put blood, sweat, and tears into it, it is done without a thought.
Yeah.
If you don't have that mindset, if you are not in that place where you're just like, oh yeah, this is all I think about, because still as a 31-year-old, all I think about. You
Yeah.
can ask my fiance, you can ask my friends, all I talk about. If you're not in it like that, go find something else. But if you do have it like that, don't let anybody squash your dreams, because mine didn't work out till I was 25 years old. If
Right.
I would have listened to a lot of people, I would have stopped well before that. But luckily, at that age, still my parents cared about me and believed in my dreams, and my friends and my partner and all these people at that time cared about me and pushed me to achieve what I wanted to achieve. They didn't think about the money. They didn't think about fame and glory. They just said, all you want to do is play music. Go play music. You have to go out and play music all the time, whether it be online for people during this quarantine, whether it be in person playing concerts, having to sell tickets. You have to do it because it's more important for you to play for other people and give other people the chance to like your art than it is for you to have some ego about how you do it. Don't think you're too good to sell tickets. Don't think that you're too good to put money into your advertising because you think people should just like it.
Right.
Fucking put in the work, put in the time, put in the money. You think Billie Eilish blew up because of, she didn't put any money into her advertising? So luckily she had super rich parents. But these people that become super famous, they have the talent, they have the skill and the songwriting and that part of it. And sometimes there are looks, but it's not necessarily a looks thing where you have to be the most beautiful. It's about being unique. Look at a guy like Post Malone. He's not necessarily the most beautiful guy, but he's very unique looking.
For sure.
Behind all of those things that you see, those aesthetics, was one of the most hardworking people on the planet.
Yeah.
Was someone that no matter what said, I have to achieve this because I will die before I don't.
Right.
That pain, that heartache that allows you to create the music is what also allows you to push and be an entrepreneur. Without the entrepreneurial side of it, you don't get it. A lot of our success is from how hard Ryan Kirby and our manager Corey Haiti work. Corey, our manager, has been with the band since like 3 years before the band got signed. He worked for years for free, getting $0 for years until the band made money. Until the band was coming home making money from tour, Corey didn't come home making money from tour because he was part of the family. Through that hard work, now things get to go well, and now he gets to make a good paycheck when we go out on the road. But that dedication, that eat, sleep, drink attitude, you can't force it and you can't fake it.
No.
There's a lot of people who say that they're like, no, I'm so diehard. I want this so bad. No, you don't, motherfucker. I see you. No, you don't. Because I know what it's like to break down, to like completely lose my shit over my art. It still is very overwhelming. Even now, like releasing music is a very overwhelming thing. I look at every comment. I look at as much as I can because I care, only because I want people to accept me. It's in the end, you just want people to accept you. It's all like a lot of it is really egotistical, but like I still feel the same way I did in high school, where it's like, I just want you to like me. That's it. I know I can be annoying and a little obnoxious, but like I really care about what I do and I really want people to care about it. And luckily Fit for a King has gotten there. But for young bands, you have to be that dedicated. You have to spend the hours in the van and go play the shows and spend all your money and live at your mom's house and put every dollar you can into your band. And when everybody tells you that you're stupid, you keep doing it because eventually it pays off. We wouldn't have any of our favorite bands, at least 99% of them, especially the ones that come before the internet era. We wouldn't have any of them if it wasn't for that attitude. And we're talking Fall Out Boys. We're talking, listen what you said earlier, A Day to Remember opening an Alasana tour when nobody knows who the fucking band is. Paramore opening for the Rocket Summer at the Loft in Poughkeepsie. Like, when nobody knew them, they did it because it mattered to them, and then they get to have success. It's, you have to have one before the other, and a lot of people won't achieve great success without that attitude. Even a good example, because Jared is so obsessed with them, is the 1975. People told him that their band name was stupid. They kept it. They produce their own music. They write it. They're primary recorders in it. They're like just super, super, super grinders, had a vision, had the whole nine, worked harder than everybody. And now they're one of the biggest bands on the planet.
Ginormous.
And it's because you know, not everybody's going to be a crazy visionary, but I think they're crazy visionaries. But also from what Jared says, by reading their books and being so involved in their life, they seem to be the hardest working dudes out there. They know
Right.
things that I'm not even close to getting towards. And even for myself, now I'm trying to learn how to record. I'm doing this podcast, you know, of my own called Get Tucked. Go listen to it. I'm trying to do
Definitely listen
things to continue to grow our brand and our position as a band, because you can never settle. And a lot of the times, I think bands that achieve glory early, they get really excited about like, wow, we're playing all these people and we're getting money
Yeah.
and shit's cool and we're gonna party and all this stuff. And you can't do that. You have to focus and you have to continue to work hard. Otherwise, it goes away. And we've all seen it. And you know, there's no need to name names. You've seen it. It's a lot of your favorite bands who they put out that first record, and that first record was amazing, and they never made it to the third record.
Right.
They never made. They wrote that. They had that sophomore slump because things got really good, so they didn't have anything to fucking write about. So their second record sucks because all their dreams are coming true.
Right.
It happened to everybody. And then comes time for the third record. And they didn't make it because they were like, well, why didn't anybody like the second record? Well, because you kind of sucked during the second record, dude.
Yeah. And a lot of people give up because some bands have turned it around. They're like, oh, fuck, we need to step up our shit.
It's all about that third record, bro.
Yeah.
It really is, man. And even I'd say that with our own band, with Fit for a King. Slave to Nothing was a hard album cycle because we didn't grow a lot. They had a new member. I was new to the band. Some people liked it. Some people hated it.
Right.
Criticism was tough, but we got through it without getting smaller.
Right.
We stayed, you know, got a little bit bigger, but not much. But then there was growth on Death Grip because then we started to get our shit together. And we made it to that third record and we wrote the song Death Grip. And we wrote some good ass songs on that album.
Yeah.
But it's making it there. And a lot of people just don't have that perseverance. And it's very similar to the stage when you're at as a local band, where you've been touring a lot and you're putting the money into your band. And you're like, why aren't I signed yet? Why aren't I opening for this band or that band? And I have this conversation with local bands often because they'll be like, man, I want to open for Fit for a King. And I'm like, bro, you're not even there yet. Like right now for openers for Fit for a King, like, there's ladders, there's like, you know, people that are signed and that are, you know, starting to get booked by our agent or friend's agent. And we need to get these bands on tour before I go take a local band on tour. But that doesn't mean that your band's not good and not deserving to get there. You're maybe like a year off.
Yeah, you got to put in the work.
You got to put in the work and you've got the product and you've got a good band and you sound good and you play well live. But like a good example of that is like a Keonashi. And, you know, in the last like year and a half, you've seen them go from being like a, you know, a really good local band to now like, you know, gotten to go out and support the Fall of Troy and like some really cool runs. And that's going to continue to grow. And a year from now, you'll see them on even better tours.
Now, obviously,
band,
when I picked them up, they did like 2 or 3 DIY tours. And ever since then, Tanner and I have been putting them on what we thought would make them, you know, get to the next level. And luckily I helped get them introduced to Buddy from Unbeaten and then Dan from EVR via Buddy from Unbeaten to help the whole EVR thing happen, which is the most perfect fit for them ever. And
absolutely.
it's super cool that a couple of the bands I've had, I've seen them go from the DIY a little bit over a local band level to, oh, hey, they're doing tours with real bands level, you know. It's very rewarding.
Yeah, that band's going to grow.
Yeah, for sure.
Oh, yeah, it's got to be rewarding as hell for you, and that's why I mentioned them. I know you work with them, and what a talented group, and you know,
incredible.
getting to see what the next couple of years will be like for people like them is really great. And you know, luckily they have certain things that just work for their band. It's super unique, sounds unique. It's also strikes a very nostalgic chord for a lot of people our age,
for sure.
where I see Peter's influence from early Screamo, the City
Oh
of
yeah.
Caterpillar, Seisha stuff. And that my first mix CD I ever got of heavy stuff from a friend was a Seisha, the Locusts
Ooh.
CD, mix CD.
That's
So
wild.
like I hear these things and I'm like, and that was the like, if you can get through this, I'll give you the other stuff. And
Right.
I loved it. Loved it. And I see that with that band, so it's very cool. And you're seeing it with other young ones, like Chambers, a really good example of
Yep.
that, where now they've been opening good tour after good tour. Now they're starting to open tours in Europe, and like they'll continue to grow and move up the ladder. You saw it with Burials over the last couple of years, like
Yep.
bands like that, where it's a stepping stone. But I say for young bands also tour, but don't tour too much.
Yep.
You don't want to overdo it and spend too much money, but make sure that you're spending your money on creating good content, which is your songs, which is
Yep.
why I come back to record with someone who's sick, not Joe Schmo. Joe Schmo ain't gonna do shit for you. But if you go record with someone who's really sick, who maybe has some connections, he might record your band and then also go, I need to show this to my boy at such and such a label because
Yep.
this is awesome. And that happens because a lot of times you can work out deals where it's like, all right, we're going to take this on. We'll work out this kind of split and let's give it a shot. Because those deals also work out very successfully for labels too. So
Yeah.
it all really varies, man. It's tough, but every band starts as a local band.
Yeah.
So don't get scared. Just
Yeah.
wait.
Even Ghost Ship, our last EP, we recorded with Shane Frisbee
Oh
in
yeah, I
Cape
understand.
Cod. Yeah, he did Returners, The Ghost Inside, pretty much every
He also
Barrier
did
Dead
drums.
album.
Yeah, he did drums on the new Off-Road Minivan LP that'll be coming out May 15th on Tooth
Ooh.
and Nail Records called Swan Dive. Listen to Off-Road Minivan. 2 new singles, Supernova and Vampire, out now.
That was a great
You
commercial.
like that? Thank
Congrats.
you. Thank you
Yeah.
very much, Sean.
Oh yeah, I forgot I saw Shane posting videos of your drummer recording too. But yeah,
Yeah,
he's
that was
amazing. He
sick.
did like a ton of the D's Nuts records,
Yep.
bunch of cool shit. But
Yeah.
we didn't do the full process of like staying there and doing pre-production in studio. We would record demos and then send to him, and he would send us pointers, and then we went in with kind of the more final product. And if there
Yeah.
was little changes, we would change them with him and stuff. But that from recording with our friend was the biggest difference maker for sure. It's such a difference
Yeah.
to do that. And even when bands that I start booking, when they ask me stuff like that, I'm like, go to someone legit, make it work, even if you have to pay for it yourself. Just you sounding legit and getting that second opinion or different outlook on stuff is so important to make yourself stand out.
Absolutely.
Okay, so going into bands that helped form us as lovers of metalcore.
Yes.
So do you want to just
Okay.
go 5 each?
Yeah, do you want? Yeah, we can do that, or we can go 1 for 1. Yeah, well, we can just go 5 each. I'll
All right,
name my 5.
let's
I'll
do
try
it.
not to run too much. Okay, my first one was, I mentioned them before, but Life in Your Way. They were on Indianola Records and then eventually signed to Solid State.
Yeah.
But that was the first band for me, where a friend of mine used to go to this Christian summer camp that a few of the guys at Life in Your Way that were in Life in Your Way worked at, and a few of the guys from With Honor worked at. And that is how my buddy got into their band. That's how I got into the band. But yeah, Life in Your Way. That was like one of the bands, and definitely the band that made me enjoy Christian metalcore, which is what I do now. So I guess, even though we don't really use the Christian shtick so much anymore because we don't really sing about it, but
Right.
foundationally, yes, that band. So for my next one, I actually grouped 3 bands together.
Okay.
Sounds weird, but I'm going to put this away. So, but really, the more I think about it, I'm not going to group them together, but they should be grouped together. Okay. AFI, Thursday, and Glassjaw. These bands together made me screamo, which inevitably made me metalcore.
Right.
It was my introduction into like melodic, heavy screaming. This is before As I Lay Dying, 94 Hours. This is before those bands. So this is what got me into like alternative heavy. And then the bands that kind of stem from that, which is next on the list, I'd say, is Dillinger Escape Plan.
Whoa.
Dillinger Escape Plan took the like, okay, you like screamo, now you like math rock, you like the intensity, you're starting to get into the chaotic side of it. And for me, that was my like first branch into like not anything screamo related. It was like chaotic hardcore stuff. And so I really liked that. And then from there, I would say it was really Norma Jean that made me want to do vocals. Josh's vocals made me want to become a screamer, made me want to like, I would try to like have water in my throat. So I could like, I was trying to just keep all like to drink all the time because I was like, how does he sound like that? He sounds like he's like gargling water while he's so Norma Jean, and that really got me into the metalcore thing, I think, the most. And the hard part then, I think at the end, I'm tied with like a couple bands, but what I put on my list was Misery Signals of Malice and the Magnum Heart, particularly. That record, I think, took a similar vocal style, but it was cleaner than Norma Jean. But the music was also more organized and cleaner, but it had bits of the Dillinger Escape Plan in it where it was like, this is kind of crazy, and I can't really fully understand it, but I'm trying to. And they were the first, one of the first like metalcore bands I liked. But I'd say that but another band I mentioned before, Beloved, they were an early metalcore band that they only put out one record and an EP, but they really had a huge influence on my songwriting. And lastly, I'll throw in Alexis on Fire too, just because that band was one of the main bands that influenced my style. I always wanted to sing like Dallas. Obviously, a lot of people do. I think that I've definitely tried to take some of his swagger and use that on my voice in my projects. Obviously, we'll never do it the way the GOAT does, but, I appreciate him, and I definitely wouldn't be the musician I am today without Dallas Green. Yeah, he's one of the most unique people to ever touch metalcore music. And that band was one of the most unique bands to ever touch metalcore music, because it's funny, in their prime back in the day, they weren't like huge. They were big, but they weren't huge, especially in the States. And now they're bigger than ever. But the songwriting was just so goddamn good. And the way they switched the three vocalists was incredible.
I mean, I guess it helps, that City and Color happened, and then they decided to come back years later.
I mean, you can't blame Dallas for doing what he did. He had to. And it's funny, I like a year or two ago, please don't honk, I'm doing a podcast. A year or two ago, I'm in the airport and I'm in line to like use the urinal, and I turn around and like three people behind me was Wade McNeil, and I was just like, fuck! And I literally, I'm like next to go pee. I get out of line and I come back. I'm just like, dude, like, I'm a huge fan. Like, that's the only time I've ever fucking really fangirled, where I was just like, bro, I can't believe this is happening right now. I can't believe I'm meeting Wade. Like, that's the coolest shit. And so I said hi to him, acted really weird. Then I pee, then I leave. And then I'm like sitting near my terminal, like waiting for my flight. And he walks by me again. And like, I know he sees me light up, and he gives me like and I'm like, so cheesy, I didn't even know what to do. But I love that band.
That's amazing.
Band. And wouldn't be metalcore without them. So give me your 5. What's your 5?
All right, so when I was probably 13 or 12 or something, my mom bought me a Headbangers Ball CD, and it had 18 Visions and Killswitch Engage on it. And that kind of opened that world to me, because it was either – because I really only listened to like screamo and pop punk stuff when I was younger. I was super into it was Newfound Glory, like Blink-182, Green Day first, and that got me into like Fall Out Boy and Paramore, and then that stemmed into Silverstein, Hawthorne Heights, Senses Fail, and I loved Bayside. I still love Bayside, but I remember I bought Taking Back Sunday, Where You Want to Be, the CD, and it had a Victory sampler on it that had Atreyu on it. It had Bayside on it. And I think it had Hawthorne Heights on it too. But that kind of opened my
That would
world
make
even
sense.
more to that. That was like the heyday of Victory for sure, were those years.
Oh yeah.
And so 18 Visions and Killswitch were the first bands that were really like metalcore bands that I got into. And that led me to As Lay Dying. 94 Hours was the first heavy song I ever learned on guitar when I was younger. And
Naturally.
the band that kind of bridged the gap fully for screamo and metalcore was Under Oath, 100%.
Yeah.
And because obviously they were kind of lumped in with screamo when Their Only Chance of Safety came out, but then when
Oh yeah, they were a screen. Yeah, it's
and Define the Great
post-hardcore
Line came
screamo.
out, you know, it was like, oh, they kind of fit in with the whole metalcore scene at the time.
Yeah. And it's so interesting listening to podcasts of their band members, because I feel it's very similar to my band in some ways, where they're like, we wanted to play with all these bands and nobody wanted to play with us because they thought we were this like corny Christian band.
Yeah.
And, you know, they're like, we just, you know, wanted to take like, you know, ISIS on tour or like some cool ass band like that. And then they're like, wow, fucking touring with you. Like, no way. Which, imagine that. It would have been great. Which you saw it when they came back and they're like, yeah, we're going to open, would they have Caspian open for them? Or
Yeah.
Oh Brother or something like that.
Yeah, something weird.
Yeah. Post-rock band.
And then the last band I had for ones that defined me as in loving metalcore is Stick to Your Guns, because I listened to them from probably the beginning, and they're still one of my favorite bands.
What a great live band.
Oh, yeah, insane. And it's wild because I almost went on the weird journey that they went on as a band with them, as in following them. Because I remember the first time I saw them, it was before the Hope Division was even out, and they were opening for Chelsea Grin, and I think it was even an off date of a tour that they just played. I don't remember what tour it was, but it played Syracuse, and they played like enough.
That's so not hardcore.
No, I mean, they never were. They were the hardcore Jews that never got accepted by hardcore until Diamond came out, and then they kind of got accepted by hardcore people, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I saw that, and then Hope Division came out, and I thought it was awesome, and they thought that was the album that was going to launch them, and it didn't. And they almost, if you listen to like interviews and stuff with them, they almost gave up, and they just wrote Diamond with like no pressure, because they almost thought, and this is funny because this was their third album. I think it was their third full length, and they were just like, we're just gonna write an album, see what happens. And then the album came out and changed everything for them, obviously, to help them where they are now. But even that, when that album came out, I would show people who, because when that album came out, it was almost like metalcore was a joke as people saw metalcore, because people thought even though I liked half of these bands, like Attack Attack and stuff, they're like, oh, I don't want to listen to Attack Attack or whatever.
Yeah, it got shitty for a while. You know, Tim was in jail. Metalcore was on hiatus.
Yeah.
And, you know, I say that in all honesty, man, because it's funny, because it is kind of a joke, but As I Lay Dying is the Metallica of metalcore.
Yeah, in a way, yeah.
As I Lay Dying, and I said this before it happened, because we knew a little bit beforehand that they were going to come back together as a full band or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just knew, I was like, this is going to bring back metalcore. Like, this is going to bring back those riffs, like those pull-off riffs. And look, and you see it now, too, with even bands like All That Remains are doing, like, really well again and shit.
Yeah.
And I think it's because people want that stuff. Because people are always going to want it. It's classic. Oh, yeah. It's like as close to Metallica as you can get with still being, like, different. But, yeah. What an interesting time for metalcore that was.
Yeah, so so I'd show people this record, and they're like, holy shit, this is amazing. I'm like, I know this band has been an incredible band this whole time, just people knew, but not at the level when that album came out. And I remember showing people I never thought in a million years would like Secure Guns. They're like, this album is incredible. And I always thought that was super cool, because I was always the guy, that I don't care what the fuck it was. If I liked it, I liked it. Because I grew up liking like everything, and I'm the same way now. I don't care if it's the starting line to even like if you play me a Rascal Flatts song and I like it, I don't care if the Rascal Flatts, I like the song. Who cares? You know?
I like all sorts of weird stuff like that too. I shouldn't even say weird, but like one thing I bop all time is like Casey Musgraves. Like everybody has stuff they like.
Dude, I love John Mayer. John Mayer is like one of my favorite artists ever.
Bro.
He's
I got to
amazing.
see him on my 27th birthday.
I
Parents bought me tickets.
Yeah, one time I had the opportunity to go. My friend he was somehow hooked up with Live Nation at the time, and he's like, "Yo, you want to come watch John Mayer side stage?" And it was when one of my friends from across the country was flying in to hang, and he was only there for a couple of days, and I was like, "I'm not bailing on my friend who's only going to be here for a few days," so
Yeah.
I had to miss out on that. And then I think Sam was going to buy me tickets, but I either had a show or had to go to a fest or something. I don't remember. Somehow the dates didn't work
Crazy.
out. So I've never seen John Mayer, which is the biggest bummer ever. One day
God, it's really
I
cool.
will see him for sure.
Yeah, he's amazing. He's really, really, truly amazing. My parents have seen him like 4 or 5 times.
That's awesome.
But they took me once. Yeah, one of my favorite T-shirts is my John Mayer T-shirt.
Oh, that's great.
I love him.
A funny thing about As I Lay Dying too, I went to see Killswitch play, and it was the tour that As I Lay Dying was supposed to be on, but then they obviously dropped when he went to jail. So I was like, yo, because I saw As I Lay Dying a few times, but I think it was just on Warped, so I never really saw like a real As I Lay Dying set. It was just a Warped set, you know? So I was like, fuck yeah, I get to see Killswitch, then As I Lay Dying the same night. That's gonna be dope. And then they dropped, and I think one of the opener bands, it might have been Miss May I, or it might have been someone else, I don't remember, but they covered 94 Hours, and I was like, oh, that was cool.
That's super cool. Yeah, it's such an interesting thing because I never want one from my perspective. I've had family members who have been incarcerated for various things, and so I hold no judgment when it comes to someone and their rehabilitation and their ability to be able to come back into the world. I think obviously it's difficult when it involves someone of the opposite sex and whatnot, and makes it difficult morally for people to make their choices. But for me, I luckily had the opportunity to meet this person and make my choice based off of characteristics that I've witnessed. And so like I said, I have family members that have done some stuff that a lot of people that would be like, yeah, that's shitty as fuck.
Yeah.
I've done some stuff people would say is real shitty. Whatever. You get over it. And like, that's why everyone has you have to, if you believe in the penal system, if you believe in the U.S., the way that we choose to imprison people for their wrongdoings and, these sentences that we give to them and hope that they get rehabilitated. If I want my family member to come out of it and to be given an equal opportunity to get a job and to have a life, I too wish that for anyone else. It just so happens that this man was a superstar and had an amazing band. And then you also take into account the other people that are in his band. They're all nice as fuck, and I want them all to be rich and happy and successful.
Right. So
I'm glad everything worked out. Long story short, I do think that them coming back had a nice effect on metalcore. But talking about stick to your guns, one of the more interesting things I've seen, that band does very well in the United States, but in Europe, dude, they headline in Germany, and 2,000 people show up.
Yeah,
crazy.
Those last headliners did like over 3,000 people, like 2 nights in a row or something like that.
It's mind blowing to watch. They headlined Empiricon Festival last year, and like one of the dates, it's like watching them play to like 7,000-8,000 people or something. Like crazy shit.
It's crazy to see. Yeah, it's crazy to see how the U.S. versus the Europe thing is so different sometimes, because right after Ghost Ship broke up, I filled in for Lionheart and guitar in Europe, like 4 or 5 months later. Yeah, I played a month-long, it was their album release tour before they broke up and then came back. And
another band was huge in Europe.
Yeah, and I saw it in that, because it was their first headliner, I think, ever in Europe. And they were, almost all the dates were sold out. They were all clubs, pretty big clubs. And almost every date sold out. If it wasn't sold out, it was fucking packed anyway. And I was like, this is fucking insane, because I always played in the US with that band anytime, because that's how I ended up filling in, because they would see Ghost Ship play, and they see I had long hair at the time and a headbang and hair was everywhere and shit, and they're like, that looks fucking cool. We want him to play. They're like, yo, you need to fill in for us sometime. I was like, let me know when, and I'll fucking do it for sure. And and I went and did that, and it was sick. It was sick. I was never been to Europe, so I got to play all these cool ass cities, and some of the days I got to go out and explore, and that was fucking sick. And even after that, I think it was the summer after that, they did the huge festival summer thing and playing in front of like God knows how many people, and they just keep getting bigger over there. It's fucking crazy. It's the same
awesome.
thing, It's wild.
Yeah. Yeah, it's crazy stuff when some bands just take in particular areas so much more than anywhere else. And it's not even like they're not popular in their own right or where they're from, but it's very cool. It's a very cool thing to be able to watch. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Both that Stick to Your Gun. Like, they're great to see live every time. What a lovely time.
I've seen them a lot of times, and they always bring it 100%.
Yeah. One of those bands I'm super intimidated by because they're all buff and handsome. And like I've done like I've done Warped Tours with them and stuff. And like we I guess we know each other, but like at the same time, like I don't know, I'm always like scared of them because they're like big and handsome.
I've only talked to Jesse, the singer, but he is the nicest dude ever. He's so nice.
Yeah, dude, most well-dressed guy in metalcore.
That is a fact.
He is fucking stylish all the time. Dude looks so good. It's crazy. But yeah, I'm a little, I just want to copy his style a little bit. He looks good. He can dress me if he wants.
I guess another band I didn't bring up too, because I got into them not late in the game, but when I was in college. So they've been a band for a while. Every Time I Die, that band is the best band on the planet. And
they just happen to kind of also get bigger and more popular.
Which is insane. That never happens. Like, they've been relevant for almost 20 years.
Yeah, it's wild. I mean, I've been seeing them I've watched that band live so many times. I think the first time I saw them, I was maybe like 18, so I don't know, 13 years ago.
I think the first time I saw him was either 18 or 19 or something like that too. Yeah. So same, like, because I'm 30, so it's the same. And I had the luxury.
Very unique band, and that's funny, basing off what I was saying about Jesse. I think Keith is the most handsome metalcore frontman, and I was a few times in my life distinctly like he would change his style. Like in the Hot Damn era, he had the flipped up hair and he had the big sunglasses and like the plaid and kind of with a big buckle and the whole thing. And guess who the fuck else did that? Because I wanted to look like Keith Buckley.
That's amazing.
Yeah. Oh yeah, I had a big buckle that had like turquoise and blue and like this buffalo on it and shit with my studded belt, and I wore like a flannel that matched it, and I fucking did my hair up the whole niner. Woo! I had the aviators and the whole nine. I tweeted about it the other day, and it's it's interesting with people like that where you see them respond to people that they like. And I tweeted about how he's really handsome the other day, and he didn't respond to me, so I don't think he gives a shit. But
oh no.
Yeah, it's cool, man. I get it. I'm verified. I know you see it. I got my check mark. Yeah, I know.
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah. It's cool.
Okay, so top 5 newer metalcore bands. I guess we'll get into that.
And this is and I threw this in when we discussed it. I'm going to refer to it as metalcore adjacent because and I did a podcast with my friend Caleb Ralston the other day, so I tried to switch it up a little bit from what I said the other day. I don't want to shout out the same 5 bands in every interview I do. But my first one, because I'm very much like stoked on this band right now, and I think a lot of people are. It's not metalcore, but it's metalcore adjacent. Static Dress.
They're on my list too. It's literally my favorite band right now.
Yeah, same here. Okay, cool. Glad we're on the same page. Because they are the best band right now. And incredible. If anyone wants to contest that or say otherwise, you're fucking wrong.
They're everything.
We want to talk about Hot Boys. He looks like Tyson from All American Rejects. Okay.
Oh, he does.
He does. And if you're not telling me that that's the most handsome motherfucker in metalcore right now, you're lying. Because he is. You're stupid. And he's going to be every girl's hot boy dream. He's going to be so famous. That band is going to be huge.
Massive.
Like, if I could buy stock in them, if I could give them money of my own right now and be like, yo, can I get, like, 90% back on this? Because I'll invest in you right now. Boom. I've also heard that every label and their mother is trying to get them.
Yeah, they have a really big manager and agent in the US already, so they're going to be
Yeah, I
massive.
can only imagine. I personally hit up Solid State and I hit up the singer and I was just like, yo, you're the greatest band ever. Like, who the fuck are you signed to? And if anyone, and what's going on? Because I was like, Solid State, if you somehow get to sign this band before anyone else hears of them, please do it. But literally every label is after them.
Oh, I'm sure. I believe it.
And that's just like, I fucking know this is just rumors, but yeah, what a band. What an incredible band. I think their songs are so original and they're so fun and they remind me of everything that made me start playing music in the
Same.
first place.
It's everything I've wanted in a band since I was 13 and happening now.
Wish I
seriously
could write
is.
those songs. Yeah.
It makes, because I haven't the whole thing with Ghost Ship was kind of bad for me in a way. It kind of why I got out of playing music, because we had this whole vision for a new full length. We were going to start touring full time. I was going to work on, because that's when I was starting meeting people in the industry or in bands and stuff. So I was going to try and work it, be like, yo, our last EP did pretty good. People love it. We do insanely well here. Pretty much anywhere we play, on the East Coast that we've done is cool. We've played legit fests.
Yeah.
Let's do the thing. And then it just didn't work out. Members button heads, whatever. But I was like pouring my life into writing this full length. And the singer and I had this crazy vision. It was going to be super sick. And it just got to a point where I couldn't do anymore. I was depressed. I was angry. It all fucked me up. And pretty much Sam brought me out of my depression and me being just angry at the world because it didn't work out. And that led me into helping bands rather than writing music. But listening to bands like that, I was like, fuck, I want to write some music. But at the same time, I'm like, I will never write anything as cool as that. So I kind of don't want to write music.
It's interesting because, it makes me want to try to get back to writing like screamo music like that, at least just for fun.
Yeah.
But you have to look at a band like that and be so thankful that people like that exist, because they're so unique and they're so special and they have every little piece of the pie that they need. And I've watched live videos of them on that Counterparts tour they did.
Yep.
And they sound great, but you can also, you watch videos of them and you're like, oh wow, this is them like unpolished. Yeah. Wait till you see them 5-10 years from now and every person's wearing a Static Dress shirt. Like, they could single-handedly bring back screamo.
Yeah, and I agree.
You're seeing like I saw they retweeted like Alex from All Time Low tweeted about them the other day or some shit. Like, people are just gonna gradually more and more be super absorbed with Static Dress and they're gonna become a huge band. At least I believe in that the way that I believed in Paris. When my old band Visions I talked about earlier, we used to play shows with Paris before Paris signed and stuff.
Yeah.
And just in Massachusetts or New York, they'd come play the Loft a couple times. And I was just like, man, you guys are the greatest thing I've seen in how long? I don't know. Like, you're just incredible. Like, you're going to be huge. And then 2 years later, it's like, really massive.
I saw when the singer filled in for A Loss for Words playing guitar, and Maddie shouted him out, being like, "Oh, she sings and plays guitar in this band Paris." And it was when it was still an A, not a V yet. Yep. And they had that EP out, and I swear I'm one of like 100 people who had that EP before they got big.
And that shirt, and I don't know where my shirt is.
I'm pretty sure I still have the EP on my iTunes, because when they put up White Noise, they deleted that from existence of the internet, and people would be like, "Hey, does anyone have that EP?" So I remember sending it to 1 million people, being like, "Yo, here it is." I for some reason still have it because I keep everything on my iTunes.
Yeah, it was so good, man. What a band.
Yeah,
and they have a very interesting backstory too, but I guess it's not mine to tell. But what an interesting band. But long story short, I think Static Dress is going to be the biggest band.
I agree. It's funny we had one of the same ones off the bat.
yeah, that was my number one. I guess that we'll just go back and forth like that. We'll just say that was both a one for us. My next band, kind of coming off of a similar thing, is See You Space Cowboy.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And they do for me a very similar thing where it's nostalgic. I like the songwriting. It seems like they're thinking about songwriting, but not too much. They're just writing what feels natural. The vocalist is very unique and has a very cool voice, very interesting vocal delivery because it's these extreme highs and lows.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love the old school, like it's like a Panther high with like really sick lows, but just such a good fucking band. Like one of those bands that reminds me of that Seisha, like Number 12 Looks Like
Definitely
You.
number 12, yeah.
That
Daughters.
style of, yeah. Speaking of Number 12, I was just listening to 100 Words or Less podcast featuring Jesse Corman yesterday.
Yeah.
So if you get bored, go listen to that too. But yeah, just another band that makes me, I think I would ride for them super hard if I was in high school. And like,
Yes.
like I had, my super tight shirt on that just touched my belt and my studded belt was showing and it was white and I had my sister's pants on and just a fun band. And like tied with that is like that Wrist Meets Razor band.
Yeah,
too.
that band is sick.
For some reason, I almost view them as the same band. I don't know why, but Wrist Meet Razor, one, I think my favorite band name, and two, such a good fucking screamo band. Like
They used to have the same drummer, but not anymore. Maybe that's
oh,
why.
Yeah, probably that's why, because that guy's in a million bands.
Yeah, he's in
Brian.
like Inclination and 1,000 other bands.
Yeah. But See You Space Cowboy, one of those bands that makes me want to mosh. Like I think that's what makes me like modern bands these days is in my head I'm like, would I pit for this? Like would I put my hoodie up and like get in there and just like not like try to fight anybody. I'm talking like I'm gonna spin kick and windmill and like get Remo throw down old school, picking up change, motherfuckers. And I think that's that band for me. Where Static Dress doesn't really do that. They don't make me want to.
They're not moshy, but
along. But See You Space Cowboy is my. I want to mosh to this band. I want to go fuck people up to this band. Yeah. What's your number two?
I didn't really have them in order, but going off the same vibe you had with that one, definitely, you mentioned before, but Chamber, that band, bringing like the Marty A.D. disembodied feel back to the, the main, I guess it's not really mainstream, but the mainstream of like metalcore and hardcore has been super sick. I love dissonant chords. I know people are kind of like, I'm sick of dissonant chords, but it's like, no, dissonant chords are fucking sick if you use them the right way. So
they're super sick
off.
if you use them the right way. Chamber, that band's wild.
It's just pure like that, like we were talking about with like Architect and the Red Chord. It's just psycho fucking music. It makes you want to murder someone, like
yeah.
I remember I saw, it's funny because I liked them before Jacob Lilly joined, and I've known Jacob Lilly for a while because Ghost Ship played a basement in Boone, North Carolina, and his old band Dwell was there for a show.
And I've heard of that band too.
They were cool. He was the singer in it, and they never really got to the point where I think they could have, which sucks because they were a sick band. And I guess they were in a bunch of bands together before, and it was the first show is them being reformed with a new name and new songs and stuff. But I remember seeing them and thinking, this is the best first show of a band I've ever seen in my life. But as soon as Jacob joined Chamber and made them what they are now, it just, because the first time I saw him was with Jacob, because I think the singer quit like the first tour or something. It was very crazy early on. He's an amazing vocalist, and the first time I saw them, I was like, I feel like this would be played over like a murder scene in a psycho thriller movie or horror movie. That's what it makes me feel like. Just like my brains are getting scrambled.
Yeah, I love that band, and I can't wait to play with them, and hopefully we'll get to take them out soon.
That would be sick.
Yeah, I talked to Jacob occasionally on Instagram and whatnot, because they were one of those bands that I did that. I'm gonna slide in your DMs and just say hi, because you're fucking awesome. And he's been really nice and receptive. Our merch guy Trevor grew up in the same area of North Carolina as him. So he's been cool. Like, they've been one of those bands that definitely is on at the cool kids table, but hasn't been weird to us. They're like, yeah, we'll come play with you. Like, fuck yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool. So, and I love that. I appreciate that. But yeah, what a wild band. They also remind me tidbits of like Misery Signals in the way that they're
Yeah.
just at crazy time signatures all the time. And it's hard for me to follow at first, but not in an unenjoyable way where it's like, wow, you guys are doing stuff I just can't even compute. I want to figure this out. I want to, it's very inspirational music in terms of songwriting. These guys are super talented. They're going to be a big band.
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. All right. My next one is Boundaries. It's interesting. I love this band to death. I think they're metalcore as fuck. They do the neener neeners very well. But the intro to their latest EP, I think it's called Kill Me Patiently, really makes me want to mosh, makes me want to scream. It makes, like, I think Matt's vocal delivery is one of my favorites in current young metalcore because I can understand what he's saying, but it gives me this like badassery the way like the first time I heard like For the Fallen Dreams, where it's just kind of brutal and low and evil and just sounds pissed. And they really make me want to mosh. I like that band a lot. And I'm interested to see Matt's, been filling in for Varials.
Yeah.
And I've seen some videos of that. I think it sounds really good. I think that's a very fitting band for him. But, whatever way he chooses to go, I'm sure I'll ride out whatever project he's doing. But I really like that Boundaries EP. I've genuinely listened to it many times. Put it on while I'm at the gym. It makes me want to lift things that are heavier than I did the day before. So that's my number 3 pick.
Yeah, I that was one of the first bands I chased to book back when I was starting, I guess, or a little after I was starting.
That Hartford Misery EP or something.
Yeah. I saw them live or saw a live video and was blown away. We don't work together anymore. They're doing their own thing by themselves, which is fine. Shit happens, but
yeah,
very, very cool band.
No comment. To each their own.
Yeah.
Whatever you choose to do. But talent-wise, good band. So, interesting.
Yeah, I mean, it happens. It's the way this industry works sometimes,
Yeah. We'll comment about it off air.
And no, I was going to mention Kayanashi, but I booked them, so it's kind of
no, it's okay. They're on my list too, so you can say
cool.
Yeah.
Like we said before, there's no one like that band, and anytime I try to describe them, I say they're like 2004 mixed with a prog metal band, and that's the closest I'm going to get, and that doesn't even really define it, but close as I'm going to get, I guess.
Dude, it's there. One way I think about it, when I was in high school, there's a tour that came through, and I didn't get to go to it, but it was At the Throne of Judgment, Drop Dead Gorgeous, Devil Wears Prada, Dance Gavin Dance, and
wow.
And those bands remind me of that, where I would love to see a tour that's like Static Dress, See You Space Cowboy, Keonashi, and then like 2 other bands that kind of fit in that. We're kind of metalcore, we're kind of screamo, we're kind of rock, they're like so many fucking things in one that's what makes them so good. They're so unique. All of these bands that we're mentioning, they're so fucking unique. And you can't place all of them. Like, I don't know what See You Space Cowboy will sound like 2 records from now. I don't know what
no idea.
2 records from now. Stag Dress could end up sounding like Armor for Sleep. They could end up sounding like Bring Me the Horizon. They could end up sounding like anything. I have no fucking clue. But will I be there for it?
Hell yeah. You spoke of that tour in another band that I work with too, but would fit that mold. Have you ever heard of Frail Body? They're from Chicago.
No.
It's the drummer from Kingmaker who was in the band Pains too. Kingmaker came from the whole scene of Villains, Sworn In, they took Left Behind and Knocked Loose out on a tour for their album release tour years ago. And they just kind of broke up. That band's amazing. If you never listened to them, you'd like them too. But the drummer's in this band Frail Body, which is the epitome of screamo. Everyone's heard of Kingmaker, but Frail Body, they're on Death Wish, and they are straight up just an early 2000s screamo band. Just now, they're a 3-piece. It's just bass player, guitar player, drummer, and I think both of them sing, or it's just a guitar player. I can't remember. But amazing band, and they would seriously fit right in with all of those bands. it's
sick.
it's
That's super
wild.
sick. I'll put it on there. If they do some shows, let my emo band come and play with them. That'd be fun.
That would be cool.
That's super fucking cool. Deathwish, what a great label for a young band to be on as well.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah, because I've known the drummer because I used to do merch designs for Kingmaker eons ago, and he hit me up and was like, "Yo, you want to book my new band? We're on Deathwish." And I go, "You're on Deathwish?" And then I listened to it. I was like, "Oh shit, this band is sick."
Yeah.
So I was like,
so
"Fuck
cool.
yeah!"
Good for them. Yeah, very good for them. That's fucking awesome. So we're on number 4. Well, number 4 was Keonashi for me. But here's the thing. So I have at the end, I had like a little tie for 2 bands.
Yeah, so, some bands kind of came to my mind as we were talking.
Yeah.
And they're not exactly newer. I mean, they are, but they aren't. But
Yeah.
I'll bring them up near the end too.
Yeah, I'm left. I've got 3 bands left on my list. I'm just gonna say them all because they're different.
Okay.
And 2 are like touring bands that are like starting to do well. But my last like unsigned, like smaller young band that I ride for and really like is a band called Hollow Front.
Oh yeah, that band's awesome.
Ryan Kirby.
Yeah, I put them on a tour, but that tour is getting postponed. So, you know.
Yes, sadly, I think they're a great band. They've worked extremely hard independently and are very deserving of a future, and I think that they will have one. I think they write tremendous music, and I can't wait to see like what kind of tours they get on in the future because they actually are starting to draw and do well.
Yeah.
And doing what it takes to make a business out of a band, which is really smart and great. So I love Hollow Front. I hope that that band becomes big and famous because everyone that likes like the Ghost Inside should like that band. Yeah, everyone that likes like early volumes stuff, I think they like that band a lot. They're good. They have a good sound. I like them. And if you disagree, you're wrong. And then my other 2, which they tour, they're legitimate. They're not like small bands, but they're smaller bands. Are Candy and Gouge Away.
Yeah.
I think Candy is another one of those bands that I would mosh for their band. I would want to wear their merch. I would mosh for them. I would ride for them. I would be all about that band, I think, because they're just unique. They have a cool fucking brand, cool name. Their sound's incredible, and they remind me of a lot of what I liked as a youngster, where it's like thrashy. It's like almost parts of Advent, where it's like thrashy and fast, but the vocals are a little more visceral, which I really love. And then Gouge Away, they definitely are getting on legitimate tours now. They're touring quite a bit, but they're just for a metalcore band. They're not even a metalcore band. For a hardcore indie, post-hardcore, whatever band that has screaming in it.
Yeah,
they're really, really good. So yeah, I like that band a lot.
Big fan. The other 2 I had they're both from the UK or Europe. They might both be from the UK, but Modern Error and Renounced. Modern Error sounds like The Used kind of in a way. If you haven't listened to them, Defonce told me about them and I listened to them and it made me fall in love with them. But do you remember the last Capsize record? How they kind of went super used? It's like that, but way better. Not saying that record is bad.
You can't talk about that band.
Whatever, I don't give a fuck. I like that record a lot, but this record is incredible. It's so good. That band is amazing. And Renounce is more of the mid 2000s metalcore and not really screamo, but still they kill it too. They're super sick. And they're starting to get on bigger tours too, but mostly in Europe where they're from. They haven't really broke over here, but I know it's hard for bands to go from Europe to the US and vice versa. It's a lot of money, and you're probably going to take a loss your first time, but it's tough.
And if Ryan from Capsize for some reason listens to this, I love you.
Oh, I love Ryan too. He's the man, and his new bands are incredible too. So go listen to his new bands.
Super sick.
That dude's an
But
incredible guitar player and songwriter. Unreal.
yeah, dude's a whiz, man. He's super, super talented. I really like his work. And I've liked his bands, and I did like Capsize for sure.
Me too.
But yeah, the Renounced band, it does very well in Europe.
Yeah.
And it's difficult to get that cross between Europe and the States because it costs so much money to get visas and to when you go over to Europe, it's not like you just get over there and your van that you have in the US, you can bring with you. You have to pay a lot for travel. You have to pay for your flights, you have to pay for your merch, you have to pay for all these things. So you have so much more overhead when you're over there. Where the first time you go, you lose a few $1,000s for sure.
Yeah,
most people do, unless you're like a freak band and you just become popular overnight. But it's definitely worth doing. And for some bands, like we mentioned, with a Lionheart or a Stick to Your Guns, like that shit really pays off. Like sometimes you're bigger there than you even are at home, which isn't saying that you're small at home. You're just even that much bigger.
Neither of those bands do bad in the States. They just do so much better over there. It's crazy.
crazy stuff. But yeah, so many good freaking bands out right now. And I just like that it's going back towards stuff that I like to listen to. Like I mentioned earlier, I grew up on the Screamo, and I prefer the Screamo.
Same here.
So I'm into that wave that's happening right now. So I'm gonna check out this Modern Error band.
You'll love that band.
Yeah,
for sure.
It's crazy thinking about the first time when you hear of the Used, and then Bert's dating like Kelly Osbourne and is on TRL, and like what a world it was for Screamo at the time, because Screamo boomed in a way where like even Thrice and Thursday as a package signed to Island Def Jam.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Like everyone was trying to have the biggest next Screamo band because bands like that were starting to take off. And I don't know if we'll ever achieve that again with Screamo. But in some ways, it reached the mainstream where like a band like 30 Seconds to Mars is kind of a Screamo band.
Yeah.
Like
they just had a famous actor be the singer, and that's kind of what.
Yeah. So, what an interesting world we live in with music. It's really been an incredible ride getting to witness some of it.
Yeah.
I'm excited for the future. That's my favorite part is just trying to keep up, because I am getting old and it's harder to just keep up.
There was two other bands I want to mention, but they're not really new. They're newer, but they're already kind of big in a way, is End and Vane. Vane blew up, obviously, with that full length they put out. That's the most crazy, perfect metalcore album.
Yep.
And then End is obviously a super group, so a metalcore super group. Yeah. So that one's kind of hard to put, even though they are a newer band, but those bands are just amazing. I just wanted we're talking metalcore, so I wanted to talk.
Yeah, man. I mean, Vane did that, like hitting nostalgia perfectly. Really well. I love that band. They're super chaotic, and I've gotten to see them now, and I think it's perfect. They're so fucking good.
I love that they have a DJ now live. It's so sick.
Oh yeah, that's super fucking cool. Them and Code Orange, they both got DJs in their band. It's pretty sick.
Yeah, the one guitar player does DJ shit now, I think.
Yeah,
for Code Orange, and now the drummer is full-on lead singer now.
Yeah, is he not playing drums anymore?
No, they have a different drummer. He's just straight up frontman now.
That's wild.
Yeah, that band. I think that band helped change metalcore too when they came out, for sure. Because no one did branding and imagery and shit like them when they started it. You know what I mean? They changed the game 100%.
And they do stuff that I think for some people they're like, should I do this? And then it turns out really cool. Like have your songs on WWE and have be like playing with wrestling, where some people might be like, that's not cool, that's corny. But then they're like, fuck you, this is super sick. Like we're gonna look like superheroes. And their branding literally makes their band look like superheroes.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. But they're a genius band. Yeah,
seriously.
Super genius band. Yeah.
So I like to end the podcast with something I call Metalcore Minute, and basically you get a minute to say everything you're into, and you've kind of already talked about bands you're into. So I guess it would just be anything else you're into, whether it's TVs you watched or movies
Okay.
or whatever. It can be
Okay.
anything. You just got 1 minute. So are you ready?
Yep.
Go.
All right. I've been watching The Wire. I think it's really good.
Ooh.
I watched the first 4 seasons of The Sopranos. I thought that was really good. I will continue to rewatch It's Always Sunny for the rest of my life because it's the greatest show ever. I've been cooking a lot. I like to cook a lot. It makes me happy. I changed the strings on my Strat the other day. That felt good to me. I hope that you listen to my emo band, Off-Road Minivan, because it's really good. And if we're going to talk about nostalgic bands that make you feel nostalgia, that are really, really good, go listen to my own, because I'm my own harshest judge, and I think my band's fucking awesome. What else? Happy 420, because today's 420. I hope that you don't feel like your liberties have been taken away from you, because if you do, like, I don't know, you might be dumb. So
That was the best one yet. Yeah.
Thanks.
Oh my god. Yeah, it is wild. I tweeted something too when I was like, if you're feeling bad about yourself, just remember there's people protesting a pandemic right now.
Yeah, it's pretty
is
crazy.
Oh god.
Well, living in New York City, I think that, a lot of friends I've talked to, their first thing is like, isn't it fucking chaos there? No. The thing that's interesting, so where we live, we're very deep Brooklyn, closer to Coney Island than Williams. Okay. So we're very deep. Everyone's wearing masks. Everyone's very respectful. Like, even the Walgreens down the street, they only have like 5 people in there at a time. Like, it's very good. But like a week and a half ago, we drove through like Manhattan area. Nobody gives a fuck. Everybody's at the park. Everybody's outside. Everyone's playing basketball and all this stuff. So it is very, it stinks. Everybody gets a bad rep for the couple of stinky people at the table. But yeah, it's a pickle right now. Like, people are being defiant. They don't care. We drove past a park the other day where people are just having full on playing rugby games together and shit.
That's insane.
It's frustrating, man, because we're in here, we're at our houses, we're doing our thing. I'm going to the grocery store, and that's it. But what can you do? You just gotta kind of take it as it is. It's been an interesting experience, and one that we will tell our kids about, and like, carry with us for a long time. So it's wild stuff.
Yeah. So before we get out of here, plug what you have going on.
Okay, so much. Whew, let me tell you about it, guys. All right. First and foremost, my number one main bitch, Fit for a King. We put out a song called Breaking the Mirror. It's from our new album. I'm not going to tell you the name of it because we haven't told anybody the name of it. Stupid. But I'm just kidding. You're not stupid. I like you. I'm talking to the people that are listening, not even you, Sean, because I'd never call you stupid. But yeah, Fit for a King, Breaking the Mirror. Go listen to that. And then after you're done with that, I want you to, while you're still on Spotify or Apple Music, I also want you to go listen to my other band. It's called Off-Road Minivan. We just put out 2 new songs called Supernova and Vampire. They're coming from our debut full-length, Swan Dive. It's going to be out May 15th on Tooth and Nail Records. It's my emo band. If you like Armor for Sleep, if you like Taking Back Sunday, if you like Brand New Despite Controversy, if you like Thursday, if you like that kind of stuff, Thrice, you will like my band.
Yeah, band is awesome. Band is very awesome. I will also say
cool.
Go listen to that band.
So go listen to Off-Road Minivan. That would be really kind of you. And you can download it for free like you do everything else. And just listen to it because it'll be doing me a solid. And lastly, Get Tucked Podcast. It's my podcast. It's like this podcast, but it's a different one. And I talk about all sorts of stuff that revolve around metalcore with my friends. Sometimes I talk about non-metalcore related things. Sometimes I talk about myself. I love to talk about myself. So you should go and listen to my show, Get Tucked. It's on anchor.fm. It's supposed to be on Spotify and Apple Music by now, but it's not yet. It'll be there in a couple days, I guess, from what Anchor says. But Maybe by the time this is up, it'll be up there. So check Get Tuck Podcast. First 2 episodes featuring Ryan Kirby and Bobby Ling of Fit for a King. If you want to know more about Fit for a King than you do currently, go listen to those episodes because I guarantee you will learn something. But that's it. That's what I got going right now. So thank you, Sean.
No, man. Thank you for doing this. This was fun as fuck.
Absolutely. Just absolute pleasure. I loved it.
All right, man. Thank you.
Dude, thanks, man. I appreciate you.
That's it for this one. Thanks for checking this episode out. As always, if you want to support the podcast, follow us on social media at Metalcore Nerds. Rate and subscribe on Apple Podcasts. Follow on Spotify. Subscribe on YouTube. Follow anywhere where you get your podcasts. Share the episodes with friends. And if you want to support monetarily, you can go to redcircle.com/metalcore-nerds/donations. And until next time, this is Metalcore Nerds.